Hey guys, welcome back to Choices Not Chances, and we got a good one for you tonight. Tonight we're talking to retired Marine gunner Michael Carr. A litany of different things on his bio as far as things that he's done. He's a scout sniper. He's a graduate of Advanced Scout Sniper School. He was in Mogadishu. He was in Iraq. In multiple places. He was in Iraq not only for GWAT, but prior to GWAT, and we're going to talk about that. Going to talk about different mindsets and aspects of the Marine Corps given the time period in which we're talking about. So pre-war, post-war, or during wartime, and not only the individual feelings that may be harbored in that, and the different people that may come at different periods of time, being pre-war, post-war, or during wartime, and just kind of compare those around a little bit, throw it around, see what we'll like. We're going to talk about some current events just briefly there towards the end, and then I'm going to have some questions about the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the HBOT therapy that is, they're finding good results, and we're going to talk and hear about the results from Mike himself tonight, in his experience and his affiliation with the HBOT therapy. But we also want it to be out there for people to understand what it does, and then what kind of resource is given to them for free to be able to take advantage of some of the therapy. But other than that, I don't think I missed anything. Mike, thanks for coming on. I appreciate I appreciate your time and patience and getting it scheduled. But I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, yeah. So we talked offline a little bit about where we want to go as far as what we need to get to the listeners and viewers to help them. But before we get there, I'd like to just talk about your career. If you've seen any of my podcast episodes, I start at the beginning during childhood, because that's where I find a lot of who we later become can be impacted, both for the good and for the bad. So I like to understand people and where they started. And then we'll just kind of move through the career. And then, every once in a while I'll stop you and try to ask a question or two. But we'll just keep right on moving. And then finally we'll end with the resources. So it's something that we can end on good. Cool. So where do you come from? Who do you come from?
Well, so I was born in 1970 in Rochester, New York. I bounced around from homes, I think, for the first 9 months. And then I was finally adopted by the parents that raised me. That's what they're my parents. I call them, it's mom and dad. It's not, something else. But
Sure.
So it was bouncing around, and then them, and then a really, really stable, environment for the most part.
And it's okay if you don't want to answer anything that I say, but why were you going to be adopted? What biological parents? What happened?
I don't know. I mean, I was
you were given up for adoption.
Yeah, so I was in foster homes, bouncing around foster homes, and from what I understand, the last family had me. They were going to adopt me, and then that guy he was moving work out of state, out of New York, and New York wouldn't let them stay, wouldn't let me go with them as he moved out of the state, but they could adopt out of the state. So I don't know. So that's ended up how I get up for adoption, and my parents adopted me.
Okay, and how long were you in foster care before you got adopted to the family that raised you?
9 months.
9 months. Oh,
Yeah.
so you were little.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, check. All right. And
I don't remember all that, but I think
Sure.
I think subconsciously I potentially did.
All right, perfect. 9 months. And the people that raise you, you get into a situation where it's comfortable situation, or comfortable situation. And what does being raised look like? Where do you live, and what kind of setting? What kind of family do you guys have?
It was outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
A really stable family. My dad was a traveling salesman for a company in New York. It was selling relays across the country, and so he'd be there, and then would go away for a week or two on a business trip, and then be back. And good schooling. Really good. It was just one of those ones where it was, we're in a neighborhood. I could go out the back door and look 2 houses down on the left and the right, and there's all my friend's backyard. So you just go and play, and
Sure.
My mom would open the door, scream, "All right, we're coming!" Or when the street lights came on, time to come home.
Yeah. And mom, what did mom do?
She was a before me, she was working as a teller at a bank. And then I think once we were both there, she just became, stay-at-home mom. But she also sung for the church, at like mass, as well as weddings and funerals and other stuff to make some money on the side as well.
Gotcha. And you said once we were both there, you have another sibling?
He was adopted too, but not from the same family.
Not from the same family.
Mm-hmm.
Age?
He's like 2.5 years older.
Older, but came after you.
No, they got him first, and then they got me.
Okay, check. So once you were both there, she laid off a little bit of the.
It was probably before, when they got him, they stopped. But
okay,
so before, I was just saying before us, it was a bank teller, and that's how they ended up meeting.
Okay, check. Were you close with your brother?
I mean, somewhat.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I think it was just different mindset, different interests and stuff, and a different friend group. I think I always wanted to go in the military. I was always doing like G.I. Joe or something along those lines. Whereas he was more focused on like music and and bands, and like he could still hear a song like, oh, that's so and so, and that's this band and this off this album and all that.
Mr. Jukebox. I gotcha.
Yeah, he got to live out his dream a couple years ago. His band won Battle of the Bands for a radio station, so they represented the radio station in Philadelphia at all these different events throughout the year. And then at the final event that they represented them was at the Camden, open air concert arena, and he opened for Foreigner and Styx.
So shit.
So he was like, man, those Styx was like his favorite band growing up. So he was like living the dream, playing, before them, meeting all those guys. And
that's awesome. Oh yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, that's cool. So you, Army, him, music, parents, good home, and it sounds like if your mother sung for the church, did religion continue with you guys whilst you were there?
Yep.
And that was, you said mass, so Catholic?
Catholic, yep.
Okay, and you stayed Catholic?
So yeah, I went to Catholic school from kindergarten again, because I'm a little hard. I couldn't put my, the shoebox, blocks, I couldn't put them together, I guess. Right, so I did kindergarten again. And then through 9th grade, and then 10th grade, I went to the public school.
Oh, wow. That's an adjustment, probably.
It was.
Yeah.
When I got in there and I was like, girls can wear not that, and I was like, oh my gosh, because the elementary school, if you will, we were integrated, but at the high school, it was the boys' school and the girls' school, and then they also had to have dresses down like below their knee. And then you go to the public school and they're like short shorts. And
not so much to the knee. Yeah. Yeah, a little less to imagine. Yeah. And you I get it. And now, especially as a parent of daughters, I get it. Some of me is like, I think it goes too far.
Yeah.
I think that adults seem to be sexualizing children before children sexualize children, and it's supposed to be to stop children from sexualizing children. So part of me is like, I get some of it, and the other some of it's like, I don't get some of it. You know what I mean? So on that one, it's tough. But if everybody has a uniform, then everybody's the same, and it's one less thing that anybody has to worry about, disciplining or even paying attention to or watching for, right? So
except for some of the girls are like, it's an inch above or below the knee, but then they're like, well, I can roll that up myself and myself. It's the same uniform. This is how I got it. I just grew.
Yeah. Check. All right. Now, so is Catholic upbringing, Catholic religion, I would assume, and you're talking about until 9th grade, but does that mean at home was pretty strict, at least to like religion strict, or no?
I mean, not like
you're not cussing, you're not using drugs and alcohol.
Not that strict.
Not that strict. Okay.
Well, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say that they definitely didn't curse, but they would have a drink here or there. Or whatever,
and some are Catholic. I don't know my Catholic, rules necessarily, but I think I definitely know Catholics that have drank and it's been okay for them to drink. Not sinful. Yeah. Outstanding. So walk me through high school. High school, did you play sports or wrestle, track, football, baseball, anything like that?
I did cross country at the Catholic school, and then when I switched, I wanted to kind of get settled in there, so I didn't do anything that year. I did wrestling my junior year, and then I got hurt like 3/4 of the way through that season, and then I ended up just kind of jumping over to the indoor track team at the time, and we went to like, I don't know, like nationals or not nationals. We're basically going to state, and then I ended up getting mono.
Oh no!
From just like overdoing everything, and as I'm going through, like, hey, you can go do that, but it might take you longer to heal and recover. So I was like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
I maybe if I had more of a connection to that team, and those guys, Vice is 3/4 of the way through the season, jumping over and like, oh, he's a good, quarter mile guy. Let's throw him in here. And so we were on I was on the distance medley. So each person did a different, one did a quarter mile, one did a half, one did 3/4, and one did the mile as a relay.
I got you. Yeah, that's tough. Well, especially if you don't have rapport with them because you're new, that would be a little bit tougher. Yeah, for sure. Now, did you continue to run track after or no?
I didn't.
No. Okay, gotcha.
Well, because that summer I joined the Marine Corps, and then I was like singularly focused on.
So you joined before you were even done with high school?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I did the delayed entry program, and so let me back up. So the year before, I went with my buddy who was a year ahead of me to the recruiter. So they're like, oh, 2 guys, this is great. This is our dream. Like we're both like, we want to go infantry. This is what we want to do. And they're like, he's like, what grade are you in? And I was like, 10th grade. What grade are you in? You're 11th. Okay, I'm gonna put you on hold. I'm gonna talk to my buddy Chris, and got him in.
Did he go in?
He did.
Good.
He ended up going to 1-7.
Okay.
And he enjoyed it at first because it was out of California.
Yeah.
Then they went to Okinawa and they came back and they're like, wait a minute, Pendleton's that way. Why are we going this way? Oh yeah, 7th Marines moved out to 29 Palms, and he's like, oh my god. So I think the second half he didn't like quite as much. But just because the libo changed from what they had. Vice is going there and you don't know what you're missing from, Pendleton or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I knew the recruiter, and then now that I look back, he kind of laid out like, oh, I don't have to work so hard over the summer. I'm going to put Carr in August, so I don't have to work.
I'll get this number now, and I'll get his number later because he can't. He's not going right now anyway. Yeah, and that's a long shot out. Well, I can't disagree with his logic.
Oh no, I mean, I wasn't saying it derogatorily. I mean, I'm still friends with him now.
Sure.
I re-enlisted his son when I was a gunner.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I was actually babysitting his 2 kids while I was or as the Air War started for the Gulf War.
You were babysitting his kids.
Mm-hmm. He was with Bravo 110, and they were already pushed over for Desert Shield, and then his wife went out to do something and asked me and my buddy that we went on the delayed entry program together to babysit. Because we'd been going over there a lot, just hanging out, just getting away from the barracks. 2 single guys. So I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll babysit. So I'm sitting there holding Josh. I'm like, from the team, like, wait, what's going on? They were showing all the planes going, like, for the start of Desert Storm. We're like, oh my goodness. I was babysitting while
things have changed. What was your emotion when you seen that?
I was like, this is it. And we were done all our training for the MEU, and so we already had our date to go, and which was coming up, and it. So I was excited because that's what you want to do. You come in and you want to do something. And back then it was peacetime, so it was like, all right, do I want to go to practice every day?
So you're there at 7th Marines with him?
No, he was with 7th Marines. So he was at 7th Marines. I was at 2-8.
Oh, check. Okay.
Yeah, so one of those weird careers. I did 27 years and 4 days, all at Camp Lejeune except for 3 years when I was at Fast Company.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Ha.
Nice. And if you want to, we can get into it, here or later about how I got out of recruiting duty.
Okay.
So I actually got out of it twice, but
I think I might have listened to something about that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. Okay, so I'm taking it going into you're depping in. Your buddy goes first.
Mm-hmm.
You come after.
Yeah.
There anything notable about boot camp that you would say, like strikes you or that you would bring up?
No, I mean just so prior to that, I was kicked out of the Boy Scouts. You know, it was more of like a drinking thing. Got caught drinking at a weekend thing, and then I ended up joining the Sea Cadets.
Okay.
So think of like the Boy Scouts, but with like a military, Navy theme. We had, Navy uniforms.
Okay.
I ended up going to Coast Guard Training Center in Cape May for a 2-week boot camp down there.
Nice.
So I got to do a lot of stuff. In 1986, they did the rededication of the Statue of Liberty. They had like a bunch of Navy ships in there, and they had simultaneous fireworks of the same thing from like 3 different places throughout the city. And I was I got to represent our area up there at that.
Oh.
I got to watch that inside the harbor I was on one of the smaller ships and
That's cool.
got to see that.
That's why you're a Sea Cadet?
Mm-hmm.
Does that program still exist?
It does.
No kidding.
So and then that helped me get like PFC out of boot camp.
Okay.
And then so while I was there, this was before my buddy joined, and it was for whatever summer, and we had 2 Marines. I think it was 2 sergeants that were from the local base, Camp Elmore up there. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yep.
And they came and they were the drill instructors for the Sea Cadet boot camp that they were doing. And I saw them, and then we went to, I think it was SEAL Team 2 to do something, to do like part of the obstacle course and some other stuff. And
Okay.
interacting with them, I was like, all right, I want to be like the Marine guys who are professional but personable. Then these other guys who was, again, they're probably just like, well, I don't even want to answer questions to this kid. I'm on the quarterdeck instead of being out training with my platoon or something.
Yeah.
But so that was just the impression. I was like, yep, that just solidified for me. I was like going kind of back and forth.
I got you.
And then I was like, yep, I'd rather
do that.
Rather be with these guys than with those guys.
And that's like, so that wasn't the sole reason, but that was a big tipping point for making your choice on what branch?
Yeah.
Wow. Never heard that before. Yeah. Hear a lot of different reasons. Never heard that one.
Well, I mean, I was in my mind, I was gonna join something. I just didn't know what I was gonna join, and
Check.
I was kind of bouncing back and forth, but that kind of solidified dealing with them, because as a cadet instructor, dealing with the Marines was different than being like my drill instructor. You know what I'm saying? So I could see them be professional, and then we went away from the cadets. They're going through the boot camp. And there were different people, and they're like, oh, there's like real people, and they're personable. And I was like, oh, it's like flipping a switch. I'm here to do this job, and then like, okay, I can turn that off.
Doing this job. Yeah.
And I guess it showed me that they're not robots. I guess is really what I'm kind of getting at.
And you were left with an impression from the other side that they weren't as personal or as professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. All right. And then and then comes boot camp. Nothing huge from boot camp, or okay.
I mean, I think like most people, like,
just getting through it.
Well, just what did I get myself into until I got settled in, and then it was like, okay,
sure, hell yeah. And then so you get PFC out of boot camp, and you drop 228 as your first unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
now,
it was funny. We were just starting. We were Alpha Company. School of Infantry. We were the first School of Infantry class.
Oh, no shit.
Before it was ITS, Infantry Training School. So we were the first one, and as we were sitting in the barracks, they came in, and before we started, like, hey, who wants to volunteer for this high-speed thing? We're like, what high-speed thing, Corporal? And it's like, it's called Marine Combat Training. We're like, and I was like, man, something just tells me not to volunteer. So my buddy's getting ready to volunteer. And I told him, like, let's not volunteer. And he was like, so they took the names down, like, all right. It's like, oh, Corporal, so what happens? Like, these guys are going to go through like 30 or 45 days out in the field doing this training. I'm like, how cool. Then what? Oh, then they're going to come here and do what you guys are getting ready to do. We're like, oh, yeah.
Good time to not raise the hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So was MCT that its inception year 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they were going to go run it as a mock trial or something?
Well, no, that's what they were doing that. And then I think they just needed bodies for that first class to start. And then slowly they're like, all right, everybody's going to go through that. Because initially it was every Marine went through that. And then you went off to whatever your MOS school is, whether it was 03 or not. And then at a certain point, they're like, why are we having non-03s training these guys, and then we have to retrain them for something. You know, so then that's when they're like, all right, if you're going to ITB, you're just going to go to ITB, and that's how you got the 0300 package. It's basically similar to the MCT package, but just, you know, slightly different. It's our guys teaching, and we don't have to reteach something.
Yeah, like that first 2 weeks, knowledge common to all kind of stuff that both get, and then they kind of split their ways. Yeah. You know what's interesting is I've been around long enough now to watch them continue to, and this is no shade, like I understand politics, I understand the military, but they continue to try to reshape and rechange that same package. They go from 15 weeks, now to 12 weeks, now to 10 weeks, now to incorporate the pool, and it's like, I don't get that. Do you have, like, can you weigh in from the gunner level why that continues to be reshaped? What are we trying to do?
I think depending on what it is, there's, you know, trying to get certain things either in or away from somewhere else. I know for a while you threw a grenade at boot camp, and then the drill instructors complained enough, like, these guys might get mad at us for yelling at them and try to kill us with a grenade. So then it all went to SOI where the grenades were thrown now instead of at boot camp. You know, so if, you know, kind of things like that. I know that I was at the marksmanship symposium in like 2009, and our gunner group, if you will, at that point, were there. The range officers were still in the process of being like gotten rid of. It might have been a year or two after that, but it was one of those, and we asked the colonels that were there, like, sir, what is the rifle range? Is the rifle range basic marksmanship, or is it step one and prep for combat? And they all agreed it was step one and prep for combat. So like, okay, we're teaching guys at boot camp iron sights. They're backup sights for 2 weeks. And then they're getting a 30-minute class at SOI from either an 03 or a non-03 on their primary sight. Does that sound right? They're like, heck no. So we end up, that's how the RCO got to boot camp on the rifle. And then we started teaching a 30-minute class on the iron sights as the backup. Like that's
right.
That's
seems
you know,
logical.
Yeah, let's have a professional crew down there teach you on the site you're going to take to combat, and not the backup site that you might or might not ever have to use.
Maybe it's a lot of just the time it takes to go up and back down, because it's the same way now. They're shooting the RCO in boot camp, but every 0300, every 03XX is shooting a SCO. Well, I won't say every. There's some machine gunners and some snipers that are carrying M4s, highly likely. But for the most part, the straight leg infantry isn't shooting that. And so now when I train guys, I train with Conflict Kinetics. So we got our gunfighter gym right on Geiger. And I get guys coming out of boot camp that are dropping to like Marines awaiting training, and I get to train them touch point one right there, but they've never seen a SCO. Hell, they've never seen an IAR. They've never gotten a class on either, right? And so now the first class they're getting is not it's a professional class as far as I'm concerned. They understand it at the end, but it's like not from a Marine PMI, you know? It's from a contractor. And so obviously we're going to try to ebb and flow and find out over this first year what the good concept is for privates versus T3 versus, you know what I'm saying?
I was at SOI when we had to implement the IAR. We had guys that were there. One of the guys is a gunner now. He's like, I think he was a platoon sergeant's course instructor, or not, I wouldn't say IUSA now, just whatever they call. I can't remember.
One of the advanced courses.
Well, whatever the platoon sergeant's course. What's it? Infantry unit leaders. Yeah, IULC.
Yeah.
He was an instructor there, and he's like, I get it, gunner. You know, we got to push this. We got to teach this. But I swear by the saw. And I was like, but how did you use it? You know, and in our conversation, he was always using it, or most of the time he was using it in a light machine gun position, you know, not charging the last 100 yards. And then we went out to, it was like K402 or something. It had pop-ups with single or double. We went out there, and once we fired that range, he's like,
IAR's better.
He's like, oh, heck yeah.
I remember.
He's like, I'm a believer.
I remember when we were doing the IAR. I might have been out there with you because I was an instructor with Alpha then. And they pulled like a couple of instructors and wanted us to test the IAR with whatever scope I don't remember what they were using.
Yeah.
And I remember shooting the IAR versus the M4. I felt like I couldn't miss no matter what platform I was in. Now, a lot of that might have been luck. Okay, a lot of that might have been just this new flashy toy, and I have this bias, right? But no, it's good, and even now, it's good. It's a good weapon. It's a good weapon, and as long, I don't say don't ever. I very rarely would want to not have at least a light machine gun with my squad. There's something to say when you start rattling 100 rounds real quick, like at somebody that gets in their head, hit or not hit. Hopefully hit. So I do want those automatic, belt-fed weapons. I think they're great for fire support positions. And if you can carry them on the last 100 yards and you're using them that way, they're still good that way.
Yeah.
I mean, Fallujah, which we'll get to in a little bit, they were clearing them with saws, a lot of those rooms. Video upon video of that. And was it effective? Yeah, you're going to cut somebody in half. And it's the one man doing it, which is cool. I don't think it's the SOP per everything we do. It cannot be that.
Yeah.
That won't work, but no, it's effective for sure. But the IAR, I'm a big fan of it. That's what we teach. We teach the IAR with the SCO, which I'm also a huge fan of. Like that constant 4-power magnification when you're super up close, it starts to mess with you a little bit with your depth, right?
Yeah.
But you roll that SCO down to nothing, and you got a red dot now. Oh, love it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that was you didn't have to do as the battalion gunner. I didn't have to go and do a 2-week saw package to get all your saw gunners qualified, and then that dude just got promoted. In 2 months, I needed to do another saw, saw package for the battalion. This was just another,
what you got.
Well, I mean, if you know how to use your rifle, you pretty much know how to use this thing. I mean, there was a smaller class, but it wouldn't take 2 weeks to do that. And then in the training portion of it was like, okay, you have to know you and what you see. So if I'm standing and it's 40 yards and the double target pops up, meaning there's a group, I know I can sit there and put that on full auto and shoot into them
and run it.
You know what I'm saying? But
shooting it as an area weapon instead of as a point weapon.
But it was, you were able to do it yourself. You didn't need to be told when and where, and then you could set the range up. Oh, let's
mix it.
It's 400 yards and that double thing pops up. Well, you know what? I'm in the standing. I probably need to go to the prone to engage that target, or do if I have to stay up and stand, I engage that single fire.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But it was able to. You could train that individual to recognize when he needs to go fully auto
and when
not
he
to.
doesn't. I guess that was my only reserve with the IAR is I felt like if an individual deemed it necessary to go full auto, I mean, you're burning through it so quick. So if you don't have a backpack of magazines already plugged and loaded, it's very, and then you add the fog of war, and then you add that you have guys that are, and now never done a combat deployment, and you put that adrenaline in them and tell guys just, you choose when to shoot 15 or 20 rounds.
Yeah.
The E3 is going to run those in a bad situation, or even if he perceives it to be a bad situation. And that's where I was kind of caught up, like, what if he fucking burns through all 6 magazines in an op because he perceived himself to be in a more lethal situation than he actually was in?
Yeah.
Because of fog or whatever, lack of training or whatever the case. Name your reason, but
I don't remember so I don't know what it is now. I want to say it was 17 magazines that they got initially.
Oh, that's what they're taking. Okay.
Well, I mean, so that's what initially it was. I don't know if it's been backed off. They said, how much does a saw gunner carry? And then all right, give that in magazines. Whether that guy carries 17 magazines or not, I'm not sure. Or if they, all right, you're going to carry 10, and then the rest of the fire team is going to take some of these other ones.
Yeah.
And spread load it. So no matter what, if I have shoot my 6 and I have 5 years, you haven't gone through yours, I'm gonna start pulling yours out and get in the fight. But it's spread loaded within the fire team.
Right, and that's kind of business as usual anyway. If you look at it like that, so that's not changing much there. Yeah. Sweet. Okay, so 2.8. Yeah. 2.8 as a boot. How does that go?
That was interesting. We checked in and we went to the gym, the 8th Marines gym they had there. It's like C Street, I think it is. We go in and they're like, all right, well, let me back up. So at SOI, we go in there and they look at my GT score and they're like, go to the far right lane. It's like on the far right. And
Was your GT score bad?
No, it was good. It was
Oh,
like
okay,
it was like
okay.
117. So they're like, go to the far right. So they put me in it was in the 0352 line.
Oh,
So
okay.
I get to the front and they're like, I need to see your driver's license. Corporal? Yeah, I need to see your driver's license. I'm like, I don't have one of those. He's like, go to the far left lane.
Oh,
0311, here you
they're
go.
playing with you.
Well, no, they didn't realize I didn't have a license. They just saw that and they just assumed everybody's got a license.
Why would that matter?
Because back then you got a Humvee license. You needed to have a driver's license to get it.
Okay.
So then like, all right, you're not going to be a 51 because you can't drive. Because when you get to the platoon, the boot's going to be the driver. So I went to 0311 and so that's how I ended up becoming 11. But then when we got to 28, we kind of like backed off. A group of us are all through boot camp and SOI together. We're like, all right, then, what do you? We put ourselves into this line so we'd all be in the same company. And then until one dude got in line and bumped everybody behind us.
Nice.
So we
Messed
were
that up.
all going to golf. And then he got in behind one of our guys, and the rest of them went to hotel company. Because back then we had 4-letter companies plus weapons company,
Okay.
and H&S company. So it was like Echo, Fox, Golf, and Hotel rifle companies, and then weapons company. And then right after our deployment in '91, they got rid of hotel company for everybody. They started pulling them away to make other battalions. Like, we're going to take company. Here's another battalion.
Check. And how's that go for you? That first coming up, like training ops and falling in and understanding where your role now kind of in the world is. How's that go? Because you're talking about pre-war now. You're not talking about there's nothing on the horizon. There's nothing. We're not thinking about anything. There's no words of anything.
Yeah.
You're coming in.
For us, it was somewhat that mindset because we were 8th Marines was the MU battalion. So we had 1-8, 2-8, 3-8, and 2-4 were in 8th Marines. And we were the only ones on the East Coast doing the MU. So you do 6 months training, 6 months, MU, and then 6 months deployment. Come back, and then 6 months, individual training, 6 months workout. So they ended up getting 2 MUs out of our cohort, if you will.
Gotcha.
And we were the helo company.
Right on. That's good training. Did you guys have to do the pool dunker back then or no?
We did. But
Or any kind of...
We did, although it wasn't before my first helo ride.
Oh, that's good.
Not really.
Did you ditch?
We crashed.
Oh, my God. The fuck out of here.
So I say we crashed. You talk to those 46 guys, like, no. We auto-rotated to the ground. I was like,
Right,
we were
that's
200 feet up in the air and the engine shut down because we ran out of fuel.
That's called crashing.
And we hit so hard the seats collapsed.
Oh, no. Did you get fucked up?
As much as that,
But you didn't, like, break a bone or spine? Nobody got hurt?
It was just, like your bell got rung a little bit, like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's kind of scary, man.
So we were sitting. It's kind of funny now. And at the time,
Hindsight.
PFC's like oh my, I was a PFC. No. You're like, oh my gosh, we're sitting off the coast of Puerto Rico. We were the first ones up in one of the first birds. We're doing racetracks along the side of the ship. We're on the Nassau, and we're down in Puerto Rico. It took 45 minutes an hour to get everybody else on their in their aircraft and the aircraft up and in the flight. So we fly. We get to the other side of the island, and the pilots missed the landing zone. It's like, oh, we'll just zip around, hit our IP, and then head back in. But by then, we'd taken our life preservers off and turned them in. What we didn't realize, or what we didn't get at the time, was when we were on the other side of the mountains and out of line of sight for the helos to the ship, the USS Iowa blew up. One of their main guns, they were firing, and that blew up. So they had like mass casualty out, like in no real world. So the Nassau's, we got the best medical staff here. So they were racing out to the Nassau or to the Iowa, but we didn't get that word. So we came around. We're like, oh, we hit our IP, and like, oh, we're kind of low on fuel. Let's go back to the ship. So we're going further and further out to sea.
The Nassau went for them.
The Nassau went to the Iowa to help with the casualties because they had like surgical suite and all that stuff. And they're getting further and like, where is the ship? And then like, you didn't get the word. We told you to go back to this base to get fuel because we're not here. Start turning around. The crew chief sitting there spitting in his bottle. He sits up, turns around, looks in the front of the aircraft, throws the bottle out the window, pulls his thing down, starts talking in it frantically. Now we're all like, what is going on? PFC Carr is like, what is going on?
I know this isn't good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, from his body language, this isn't good. Then he goes to my lieutenant, screams in his ear, and does a swimming and starts throwing life preservers at us. I was like, oh my God, put that thing back on. I grabbed my reference point. I'm like, I'm getting out this way.
I'm ready.
Like this. Oh, this is not a good start to the helo company.
Yeah.
We make it over land. They're like, all right, there's a base or whatever it was 2 miles away. We didn't make that base. We landed in a soccer field.
Yeah.
But we're
now, did he have control all the way down, or did you run out like engine shut off and now you're rotating?
Engine, well, because it was a 46, so they're both they're counter or whatever.
Yeah.
And as we're coming in, he, I guess, auto rotated, so he pulled the collective or whatever it is at the last minute to pitch it to soften the landing. But we were a couple hundred feet up, and we just started. You heard like when the engine shut off, it's like pew.
Yeah.
We heard that, and then we started falling. I was like, oh, this isn't good. And then we hit, bam, seats clapped. I'm like, all right, get out. Roger that.
Thank God, don't take me back.
And I was like, we're in the helo company. This is not a good start.
Yeah, no kidding. So what happens after that?
No, we spent.
Somebody drive and pick you up?
We had black Cadillacs, baby. We had to walk to where we needed to go.
Yeah, but you didn't get back in the bird.
No, it was out of fuel, and there's no way to get fuel to it.
Yeah, just sat there.
So they stayed, and we continued on with our.
So they had to drive fuel to that thing then.
They probably flew fuel once.
Or flew it, yeah.
And then, so we continued our training, but after like day 5, we're out of MREs, and we're like low on water. Like, oh yeah, you're going to be here a little bit longer. So there's a theme throughout my career. You're going to be there a little longer and no food. And so we started doing like a day patrol, looking for like fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we go back at night, like, scoot up this thing in someone's property and cut off bananas or whatever. And that's what we're eating, this fruit, until they finally, like 7 or 8 days later, they came and got us and flew us back to the ship. And
you were where?
Vieques Island in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico. So you guys just lived on the island until.
Yeah, so it's like an island off the side or something. So they do like naval, bombing and other stuff there. And
sweet. It's pretty wild.
Welcome to the fleet.
Yeah, welcome. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Okay, so you get picked up. Is there anything else that happens notable on that? On the rest of that tour or the rest of that deployment?
Oh, so the deployment, we get over there and living on ship and.
That was training. My bad.
Yeah, that was training, and then we go. So we get on the ship and we go. We bouncing around to different places. We had an international incident. We were on CNN.
Solid. What happened there?
And somehow, either the U.S. or the British or somebody came in prior to us being in this port in Lisbon, Portugal, and they were ready for us. And then if these guys do something wrong, they came in like reserves, and the police were like beating people and all kinds of stuff. And the chaplain got arrested. The mute chaplain got arrested. It was just a wild. It was a pre-staged kind of thing.
Tensions were high on that other side, it sounds like.
Well, but we didn't know any of this. So we got in there, guys were on Libo, and back then, it's different now, which blows my mind, but back then, you had to leave 1/3 of your force on ship in case anything happened. So it was like you had first platoon, second platoon, third platoon, and then weapons broke up into their. If you were always assigned a second, and second had duty, your stance, you always kept 1/3 of your force, and so we were on duty, and you hear guys racing up the gangplank. Showing their ID card. We're at the MEU because we're the closest ship.
Let us in.
Yeah, so now they're showing their ID like we're at the MEU because there's police chasing them, trying to arrest them, and all kinds of craziness. So that was.
What was the original thing that got done? Did anything even happen, or was it just like they were going to route you guys regardless?
I think they were waiting for something. It was somebody got rowdy at one bar, but they're like, we're getting payback for the last Americans that were here.
Full
or something.
washout. Yeah. That's fucked up.
So that was notable for that deployment. And then we did training in Israel, which was some really cool,
training.
And they had an old abandoned dug in bunker complex, if you will, like trench kind of thing. And we went up and we had the machine guns set in. We patrolled down, got up, me and another guy from our platoon. So we did it as platoons, and thumb clip, pull pin, throw a grenade in the trench, roll back, boom, and goes off, rolling the trench, and then we started clearing the trench.
Oh, yeah.
We had a flag, so like the third guy back had a flag. So I was going through clearing, and then the machine gun was like, all right, I see the flag. I'm going to stay 20 meters in front of the flag.
Staying off of them, yeah.
So as we were going, we're going on, and I was like the number 2 man. I was like, in my mind, I was like, man, those rounds look like they're getting closer and closer. So I turned back and looked behind me, and the flag dude got stuck on a nail. And he's sitting there shaking. Stopped. We backed up, unhooked him, and then because we were getting closer and closer.
You're talking about lead trace, right? Trying to shut guns down with lead trace, kind of. Yeah.
And then
that's
so
fucking sketchy.
That was awesome training. And then as we were leaving Israel, like the next couple of days, the sun was always rising on one side, and then they're like, I got up one morning and the sun was on the other side. I was like, that's odd. Wonder what's going on. Going back towards Israel and Lebanon and stuff.
You didn't realize you turned around.
Yeah, well, that was the clue because they did it like in the middle of the night or something.
You had me twisted. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And then we got the word like, hey, we're going to be in what they called modlock or modified location, and we're on standby to go rescue a Marine colonel that got captured that was working for the UN, a guy named Colonel Higgins. And so back then there wasn't like the MSPF as it is now, or I think they call it the Maritime Raid Force, depending on what coast you're at. You know, it was the force. The force guys were trained in that, but there was no like marrying up with the covering force platoon. So as our battalion was laid out, Echo was boats, Fox was tracks, Golf was like the bald eagle, the trap, the sparrowhawk,
all of it.
You know, and all of those things. And I think the other one was like a Neo. So like if we would go in, so the way they always use this was they'd send us in, my platoon, the Sparrowhawk platoon in first, you know, gain a foothold. And then if it was like, say, a Neo, then they bring the other platoon that does Neo, and they'd start doing, you know, like, hey, we're filling out who's coming and whatever until the MSSG could get their stuff and then go in.
Check.
And then they would pass it off or help and stay and then just expand our perimeter. And then the whole company would come in as the Bald Eagle. The rest of them come in to help provide security. And then hotel company was Hilo Airfield Seizure.
Okay.
So because our platoon was used to working by ourselves, you know, initially they married us up with the force platoon. Like, all right, you guys are going to go in and rescue Colonel Higgins. Lance Corporal Carr, team leader, or my team leader got in trouble, if I remember correctly. And they're like, all right, you're the team leader now. It's like, cool, no fire watch.
Sweet.
And then like, oh yeah, we're getting ready to go into Lebanon to rescue someone. And I was like, oh, you know, it was like the first time of like,
time to note up now. Yeah.
And then we were I think in my lock 30 or 35 days. We did a handful of practice raids on Cyprus. And then
I've been there.
You know, so, and then back then we didn't have like armories. We had that in your berthing area. You had like the gun racks. We had your rifle there. We were given ammunition, and that sat with all your deuce gear at the bottom of your rack. So we were like on like short-term notice like that. And I remember one Sunday we got the word, whatever the code word was over the 1MC, went to the weight room, which was where we all gathered for like if you're flying out. That was the first time I saw snipers. I was like sitting there, I'm like, we're getting ready to go, and guys we're on our chalks. Guys are getting taken out up to the birds that were spinning. And I was like, who are those dudes? They came in with like big packs.
Different guns.
Israeli boots. You know, I was like, what's that shotgun with that scope? They're like, yeah, it's a sniper rifle. Those are the snipers, you know.
Is that where the seed was set?
Well, I mean, I knew about them. I did a project, similar to this when I was in high school. I was doing screen printing. I did one that was Marine. I did a plate that my recruiter still has. It says Marine Sniper, you know. So I knew about them, but they were like the first, like no kidding, snipers that I saw or had any interaction with. You know, one of the guys ended up going on to go to Force, have a legendary career in Force. He was a ranger instructor, won the best ranger competition one year. He ended up passing selection for those guys at Fort Bragg. Got told he can't go because he helped start up MARSOC, and then ended up going to those guys after that first deployment. You know, so that was like a legendary dude to like see is like, oh my God, that's the first sniper I saw.
Who was it?
I don't want to necessarily say his name. I can tell you afterwards. But,
Okay. Right on.
You know, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No, that's cool. That's how it happens, though.
Yep.
That's how it happens.
So we ended up, I think maybe one or two of the birds were flying. Oh, let me back up. So prior to that, there was one or two other like birds that came in that were all blacked out and dudes with beards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're like, who are these guys? We're like, I guess something's really getting ready to go down. So it was either the guys from Bragg or the guys from Damnick. You know, one of those two guys. You know, one of those two groups. And then, like I said, I think some people were up and spinning and in the air, and then they canceled the mission, and then I think kind of died down from there, and then it was a regular, bilateral for the rest of the deployment.
Finished it out. Well, what happened to Higgins? Somebody else rescue him?
No, he ended up getting executed.
Oh, right on.
A few months later.
I wonder where the stand down mission came from, or that word.
I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, this was like 89. We were getting piped in CNN like the day after it was recorded, so we were hearing those news updates every day, like today for yesterday,
right?
Kind of stuff, which was like back in the late 80s. That was like unheard of.
Probably pretty good.
We had some videos that we saw of like, hey, this is what we're thinking the site's going to be, and we're like, oh my goodness, like so dudes in like suitcases or something taking videos, in areas like that, or however they got
which
it.
Which is awesome, by the way, whoever's doing that. Yeah,
so
there's definitely people doing it.
As part of that, I got to go through Combat Lifesaver back then.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, but the rest of that deployment was,
But so you're a new guy, first deployment, pick up a team because somebody gets in trouble. Mm-hmm. You guys have kind of a real world activation, a real world deal going. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to come off of that deployment as a team leader.
Yeah.
Which probably has a little bit more esteem now. Being that you were a younger guy that stepped up, I would guess. Yeah. Is that close?
So
or?
Shortly thereafter, like, all right, you're back, and he's back as a rifleman, So they kind of slapped him for a little bit, and then
so he took the team.
He took the team back over.
Okay, check.
But I was there for a period. I was like the team leader.
Yeah.
And then I took the force indoc on that deployment.
Okay.
We passed it, came back, and there was like 4 or 5 people that passed it. We came home, went on leave, like blocked Christmas leave, came back, and like the other dudes that passed it were gone, but I didn't have any orders. Like, I just assumed that I was number 4 and they only had 3 slots, kind of deal or something. I didn't find out till later that I was given a bad recommendation by some people because I knew they were going on the next deployment, and I was going to go on the next deployment. They were like, we want him to be one of the squad leaders.
Oh no, they tried to stop you up so you could be.
Mm-hmm. But it all worked out how it was supposed to, because that's on that deployment we were in Iraq, and that's where I met Jeff Eby came in. He was a legendary gunner, but he was a weapons platoon, or he was machine gun section leader for us.
Okay.
So when we were in Iraq, he would go around check on his guys, and then he would stop and just shoot the breeze with me in my hole at night, about whatever. And then that next deployment, so the 92 Okinawa, he was the sniper platoon sergeant. And I was in the sniper platoon, and then he was at FAST, and he got me up to FAST. So there's that kind of
following, kind of mentoring, or you're following his path.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was just that initial interaction. If I went to force, then I would have never had that, and I don't know where I would have been.
Who knows what would have happened? Yeah.
So it happened the way it was supposed to happen, I guess, is the point. But I didn't know that at the time, and I was like,
life makes sense watching it in reverse. Yeah. All right. So let's move forward. You said that you were, when he took over the state platoon, you were a pig at that point, or you already been to school?
Yeah, no, I was a pig. So, but before that, our MU got tasked. The
second MU.
Yeah. So the second MU, and the one we ended up going in 91, was composited in like August 1st. August 4th, Saddam invaded Kuwait.
Yeah.
So then they're like, oh, we're going to keep you in your MU workup because we're going to have you guys do raids behind enemy lines, was the thought process, to help alleviate stuff going on the front lines. They didn't realize that Desert Shield or Desert Storm was going to be like 96 hours.
Yeah.
So we did our whole workup, got on ships and came, and I was in Toulon, France when the ground war started, drinking a beer and like,
sweet.
This.
Yeah.
Because you want to be there, not sitting there on Libo. And then fast forward, we end up getting tasked with going into northern Iraq to help the Kurds, protect the Kurds in the mountains. So we went in, and initially they were doing helos and just dropping off humanitarian stuff, but they were getting mobbed. And then they were also like pushing pallets out, but then they were like crushing people. So it's like, are we going to have the meeting? So let's bring the grunts in. And we ended up doing our company did a helo assault, 846s and 453s loaded out. And we did a helo assault from Salopi, Turkey into just south of Dahuk in northern Iraq. And so when I say us, we had all of us, mortars, machine guns. We hand carried 50 cals in, all their ammo. Everybody was loaded down.
Fucking sending it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was me and my saw gunner. The third guy was like, I have a family and I got a hangnail. Like, all right, dude, you can stay back because we don't want you.
Yeah, don't want you anyway. Yeah.
It was me and my saw gunner. And they're like, all right, here's all your ammo that you have to carry. They were spread loading it throughout the different squads. And I ended up having like 3 mortars and an ammo can of 50 cal. And I was the point man for the squad.
Oh, yeah.
And I was taking more because he had the saw and all his ammo for that. And I didn't want to overload him.
Sure.
So, we get in and our platoon's supposed to land and assault up this, hill, if you will. It looks small compared to everything else because we were at like 5,000 feet in the mountains and stuff.
Sure.
And we dropped off the mortar rounds at the bottom because that's where the mortars were. Then we assaulted up. But as we're getting on the birds, we go in. And I'm holding my ammo can of 50 cal on the ramp of the 46, and the ramp of the 46 goes up. And I'm sitting there and like, I don't have a seat. And I look at my platoon sergeant. I shrugged my shoulders. He shrugged his shoulders, and I sat on the ammo can on the ramp, flying into Iraq.
Love it.
And then so we get out and we do drop the mortar rounds off. We assault up the hill. I think our squad had 11 in it. And we made it to the top with 5. Not because we were taking fire, because dudes were out of shape and
typing out,
and just like because we're thinner air or whatever breathe. Else, and just and that was like the one of the pivotal points for me of my guys are always going to be in shape. They're not going to fall out getting to the target.
Yep.
And so that was just along the way one of those pivotal things. Like,
sure.
All right, my guys are going to be fit.
Because what happens if there was resistance at the top of that hill? It would have been rough.
Yeah, when we got up there was a machine gun position, but the Iraqis had already abandoned.
Yeah. So
our mission was to secure that and secure the high ground, and the other 2 platoons were getting the 2 different roads going in and setting up blocking positions. We were supposed to support them.
Cutting off, backfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then hand carrying 50 cals up to that. So those guys were smart. They dumped their packs and just carried their rifles, their deuce gear, and their 50 cals up there with some ammo. And then when we got up there, I was like, all right, here's your ammo can. They're like, oh, cool. Here's an AT-4. Killing me, man.
Hell yeah. Establish that ORP and drop the heavies for the assault. Smart. Smart. Hell yeah. So now explain to me, like, upon consolidation, is there like a come to Jesus meeting about being able to go up that hill or not? Or is it just understood implicitly that was an ass kicker and we need to be better?
That was my after action was that, but no, we didn't have anything because we were there for 90 some days, so we did that and then we pushed on.
Did you guys stay on that hill or did you keep raiding?
So we stayed on that hill and then we kept on pushing further south as other units so we were there doing that while the rest of the MU came across the bridge because they weren't sure if it was going to be mined or anything else.
Sure.
So we were more or less the speed bump, if you will, if a whole bunch of Iraqis came north, while the rest of the battalion and MU came across via vehicle and all that, and then they cleared that town as much as they could and established there, and then we pushed further south. And once they were in and established, the 2 other platoons came up. We pushed south, and then I think Hotel Company came up. We pushed south again, and we just kept on pushing south, and then at a certain point, we moved forward and set up a line. So we were here, a company on one side and a company on the other of this road going south to, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the town, but
should be north of Baghdad.
Oh yeah, it was definitely north.
Way
I mean,
north.
it was we were up in like the Kurdish area. And so we were here, and I don't know, a mile and a half across the valley was an Iraqi defensive position. So and that's the furthest south we ended up going. But we were there and digging in, manning those positions, manning a checkpoint for vehicles coming in and going out. I remember in the vehicle one day, I'm sitting there and I was like, why did it just get dark? You know, it was middle of the day. I'm going, and I pop back out, and there's Colin Powell. That's a big dude. He was like leaning over watching me, and he eclipsed the sun, and I was like, oh my goodness, how you doing, Marine? Oh, good, sir.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
I liked him as a politician.
Yeah.
Not many that I liked, but that was one of them. Well, that's wild. Now, can you touch on some of the thoughts? Now you were talking about second deployment. You're a team leader on this one now. And how is it different being a team leader? And because I'm going to come around full circle to this later.
Yeah.
What is it like being a team leader as far as the emotions or the thought process goes when now you are, at the lowest point in the squad making decisions that are life or death? Does that hit different at Lance Corporal? Are you even thinking that?
No.
You're just going through the motions. Well, got your training.
Yeah, we did our training. So back then, we didn't do any kind of SOTG like raid package. That's why we kept on rotating through. So like the junior guys learned from the senior guys. Like, hey, this is how you pack a pack. We're always the helo company. We're always doing this same mission. So we learned this is why with this SOP's in place because of this and this and this.
Right.
And then the same thing with the officers. The officers would go and you get like, first and second platoon commanders, as an example, would become the XO and the weapons platoon commander. So in case the company commander coming in had never done a MU, they could answer the questions.
Got
like,
a little help.
Why is this SOP like this? Well, it's because of, and they've already done a workup and a deployment as a helo company or a boat company or whatever. So we always just learned how to, we just learned from each other, and then, so I guess that's just from the get-go. It was just learn from the leaders and then pass it on, hey, this is how you do this is how you do that.
And here's why. Yeah, check. So
years later, when I got to SOTG, they're like, oh, you did MUs? I was like, yeah, I did 2 MUs in a rifle company, 1 MU was in a sniper platoon. And they're like, oh, so you've gone through the raid package. Like, what's that? They're like, where we teach how to do raid? I was like, yeah, no, we didn't have to have somebody teach us how to do that. It was inherent to, our unit and stuff.
Yeah. Which I think having a centralized baseline for what should be taught, that way my element can work with a completely different element, can work with a completely different element. I do like that. But yeah, you're going to have different SOPs as far as the element's concerned. And what's that element for? Is it trap? Is it direct action? Is it? Yeah, and that changes things, especially as it concerns what you were doing at the time. So
I remember, even from the first deployment, we're like, oh, we're doing fast roping and all this stuff. And one of our buddies, me and my buddy that went to boot camp together, we're going back. One of the guys is Army Reserve, and he was like, oh, I went to air assault school. They showed us this cool thing. Again, granted, this was like 89, 90, like this cool thing called FAST roping. We're like, oh, you mean fast roping? They're like, yeah, but only the instructors and, like Delta does that. Nobody else does that. We're like,
ground force.
Well, but we're just rifle companies and we do that, but it progressed
like
along.
The Hearst Masters, probably a whole lot different, but yeah.
That
was stuff that before courses, you guys were OJ team with NCOs, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, so I think there was Hearst Master courses, but there wasn't like a rifle company course, to go through it and teach us how to be a helo company to do a raid.
Sure.
It was just, something that was inherent that we learned from our seniors and, they learned it from their seniors when they were junior guys.
Absolutely.
But it was just funny how like back then we're like, not even the Rangers are doing that. We're like,
we're all doing it.
we're doing it. I don't know what you're talking about, but
fast roping's fun. Fast roping from a osprey is not as fun as, let's say, a straight down bird. But no, I really enjoyed fast roping. I got to fast rope the first time at the AUC in Chesapeake. They happened to have some Coast Guard, whatever the one-door Blackhawk's called, Sea Stallion or something, whatever it is. They had squared some of those away, and I think there was it's like CIA or FBI or DEA is one of the agencies that was there shooting. Yeah. They were shooting steel with us or whatever. Well, I think the choppers were supposed to be theirs just to do like the quick little loop to bring them into the house. And those guys were bored, and they're like, we'll take you guys too if you can get it signed off on, do a quick fast rope. And so what was cool was on our not the fecks that you do off location, but the fecks you do on location at the time. We were able to do dynamic entry and hit one objective to movement on the ground, and the second one we got to come in and hit it from the top, and then we had that connecting file,
Nice.
on 1 and 2. It was super, super cool, and I guess maybe everybody gets to do that when they go to the school, but they acted like we were getting hooked up like a favor, but that was cool.
One of the other cool things between the first deployment and the second one is I got to go to a Assault Climber School, which was awesome.
Oh yeah, is that in Bridge? Where's the Assault Climber School?
That was as part of the MU. It was you did 2 weeks down at Stone Bay.
Okay.
And where the old SOTG compound is, you know where Charlie Range is on the rifle range?
Yeah.
Before Delta Range or Hathcock Range now was built, that's where there was a tower that was back there. That was the 1,000-yard line. And then when they built Hathcock, first was Delta and then it became Hathcock Range. They gave that tower to SOTG and they're like, "Can you use this?" Like, sure. And this one guy,
figure something out.
Staff Sergeant Murphy, who was running the Assault Climbers, he built that. He adjusted some stuff, had some stuff built, and then built that into a climbing tower. So we did 2 weeks there, learning all the stuff. We do something day, they would do something night, and then we go to the next thing the next day. And then we had like a week off, and then we did 2 or 3 weeks up at Camp Dawson in West Virginia. And we we go out and do like real mountains,
Outside mountain.
Yeah, instead of this was outside, but it was.
No, I know.
But like that's what I mean by like a real mountain and stuff. And we even sometimes we drive down the road like, just pull over, let's climb here. So it was that kind of it was really really fun.
What was I thinking of in Bridgeport? Is that cold weather training?
Well, there is an Assault Climbers course up there,
yeah.
But this was tied to the SOTG MU workup.
Okay.
So they had pulled a couple guys from each of the companies to go. So when we needed to do some kind of Assault Climbers mission, they weren't tasking too many from one unit or another to go and to do that.
Well, walk me through a little bit of what Assault Climbers is like, because that's not something I've had people talk about too much, maybe at all. What do you ropes, holds?
Ropes, climbing. Your mission is to set something up to get a rifle company up over that mountain to hit an objective is what it is. So whether you have to climb up, do lead climbing. So you start out with what they call top rope, and there's somebody at the top with the brake. The rope comes down, and as you're climbing, he's belaying slack up.
Check.
So if you fall, you're only falling a couple feet.
Yep.
The rope catches you, and then you grab one and continue on. So
and there's already gear hit into the mountain, or somebody doing that on the lead?
Someone's sitting at the top of the rock
so there
the
is
tower.
Nothing tacked into the rock.
So the top roping is there's somebody up there,
Okay.
and this is just training, getting you used to climbing and getting better at climbing. That's not necessarily how you would do it for real.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Check.
So that was like the progression. So you did top roping first, and then you went into later on lead climbing, where you'd actually put stuff into the wall, and there would be a guy below you belaying you. So you go in the bottom of the cliff face, and you hook a piece of pro in, put the rope from the guy that's tied in through that up to you as you're going up. So as you're climbing up, you're putting a piece of pro in, and testing that, putting your rope in, climb some more. So if you fall and you're only going a few feet, depending on how far it is between pieces of pro that you put in.
Yeah.
And then you get to the top, and you can set stuff up to either make it easier for the rifle company to come up, either ladders or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Or if it's just you might not be going up a cliff face, but you're going up a fairly steep and rugged angle, and you're tying systems off. Like, hey, at the top, at the bottom, and then periodic breaks in between. So as you're going, you're going to hook into that as you're walking up, and then when you get to the top of this piece, you're unhooking from one end of the neck and then going over. So there's like stops as you're going up, just to help them and get them up, show them the way, and keep them from falling too far or getting hurt.
Yeah.
So
did you like that course?
Oh, I loved it.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
About Bridgeport too, even though it's a kick in the sack. It's good. I think it's probably good for everybody to know how to tie knots and scale a wall.
So in 90, 93, I think it was. 93 after went through sniper school. The battalion went through the package out of Bridgeport, which was awesome.
And you'd already had the one.
So
in
I'd already gone
Virginia
through
or
assault
West Virginia?
climbers, yeah. But the sniper platoon went through its own special, like mountain sniper. So some of it was shooting, some of it was how to patrol in the mountains. We did poncho parachutes, as an example. So you get like an MRE box with whatever resupply you wanted, another MRE box taped below it to help soften the landing. Then you tied your poncho as if it was a parachute, folded up and stuffed it in an MRE sleeve with one strand of a 550 cord. From that to like a D ring, and they hook that into the aircraft. They kick that out. Sleeves comes off. That little piece snaps off, and the poncho comes out. And your resupply comes down by parachute. So
Never heard of that either. Poncho parachute.
Yep.
That's old school.
Yep.
Okay. So you loved that one too, I take it?
Yep.
Bridgeport was awesome.
It was.
Before we get too far ahead, I want to know the route you took to become a pig, and then the path you took from there to become a hog, and then obviously we'll move forward. But what was that path?
So we got back from the MU in 91. I went home on leave, and I was like, not impressed. Nothing excited me. So I was like,
That
all right.
that you mean that would want to keep you there?
Because that was my 4 years were coming up. I was like, what am I going to do when I get home? I was like, there's nothing really here that excites me. So I went back, and one of my buddies, who ended up getting killed a few years later in 2008 in a helicopter crash in Okinawa. He went over to the sniper platoon because he came in from the reserves out of 3rd Force in the reserves. And so he was over there, and he was like, hey, man, you need to come over and do the indoc. He's like, Jeff Eby's going to be the platoon sergeant for the deployment. He knew because everywhere we were on that 91 deployment, I was the far end flank of my squad, and the fire team he was in was the one we were always tying into.
Check.
So we became really good friends. Actually, I still talk to his mom or send letters to his mom, to this day. And so he's like, you need to go over. So I took the indoc, and in the end, that was the number one choice that they wanted to come.
Was this like a internal indoc for your battalion?
Yeah, for the battalion sniper.
Okay,
platoon,
check.
Yeah. So I did that, passed that. The only thing I needed was a current rifle expert. So I went to the rifle range, shot expert, and I'm like, all right, here you go. And then, so that was 92, and the Marine Corps was downsized because they lost a whole bunch of people from the Gulf War, and they were getting rid of bodies. So the 2nd Marine Division had 52 quotas for 0311 that year to re-enlist.
Wow.
And that's
a huge downsize.
It trickled down to 28 had 3 quotas for 0311 to re-enlist that year, and I got one of those.
Hell yeah.
So there was actually, I was told.
Well, you were a big asset compared to probably a lot of other folks.
So there was 3 that was told, and they told one of the sergeants, no, we're going to have Corporal Carr take that slot, and you have to go in front of a division board. So that was another piece of luck.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Were you better than him?
I have no. I don't even know who it was. I just. That.
Clearly, you're better than him. If you weren't better than him, I think you might have been seeing the comp board, not him. Okay, check.
Standing all that stuff.
So you re-enlist. We're just jump back into it. Had to use the head. So you re-enlist, and you now you're a pig. Now you're with Stay. You're in a team that, as you said, are full of pigs. Yeah. And if can you just for the audience that doesn't know, go over pig versus hog.
Pig is a professionally instructed gunman, and a hog is a hunter of gunmen. So someone who's been through school and somebody who has been through school. Hunter of gunman has been someone that's been through school, and the pig is someone that hasn't been through school.
Check. So that's school trained sniper hog versus professionally instructed gunman, which is going to be almost the OJT before going to school. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Check.
So the team I was in, so Miller, the guy I talked about previously that came from 3rd Force and Reserves, when I got over there, Jeff Eby was like, I want you to be the team leader. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I was like, why don't you make Miller the team leader and I'll be the ATL? I was like,
did you feel that way because you were new to it, or because you weren't school trained, or you just wanted more experience?
I was new to it. I wanted to get some experience before I'm, leading or whatever.
Check. Yep.
you know.
Admirable.
And I was like, he'd been through ARS and all that, so let him lead. I'll learn from him, And so he was the team leader. The point man was a guy that jumped into Grenada with the Rangers.
That'll work.
And then the RTO was this other guy who was a black Russian who spoke fluent Russian, fluent German, and English. And then there was me. The other three had gold wings, and I had nothing. So I was like, I'm the schlep of the group, So that's why they
Did they treat you that way?
No,
Good.
No. But I always say that just to, because they're all like gold wings and all that. But because of that, we were given more of the reconnaissance type missions that came down the pipe.
Because you had somebody.
Well, because we weren't snipers. None of us were snipers. Like, we'll send you guys out further. So we had 30203s, and Kozak was like 6'6". Kozak is the point man.
Point man.
And so he jumped into Grenada with the Rangers, whatever Ranger battalion that was. And he was like on the ground after the first chalk went through. Are you familiar with Grenada and how that thing all laid out? So how they had the first chalks going out, and then they stopped them because they were falling through anti-aircraft flak. So he was on the ground like, where are the aircraft going? Kind of deal. And then they came back and did like a 500-foot no reserve jump, but he was already on the ground.
Did he go through the flak? Oh man, what did he say about that?
I don't remember, but he was
It had to be crazy.
Yeah. So
probably wild, scary.
A crazy Kozak story. When he checked in and he's wearing gold wings, and the back then supply was at the battalion. So you go in there, and our supply guy, Sergeant Tanksley, had gold wings because he was supply guy at like force. So he got they put him in a jump billet. He jumped, got his gold wings.
Hell yeah.
And he sees Kozak. He sees this big PFC coming in like, where'd you get those? Oh, he's like, I was an Army Ranger, got all these jumps. Did you do any jumps with any Marines or Navy? He's like, no, Sergeant. He's at parade rest, and he's like, take them things off. You don't rate them. He's like, Roger that, Sergeant. So he takes them off, pissed, and he's like, he goes to the PX, comes back the next day, and puts the lead sleds on, and he comes up there and he's like, what is that? Because he had his combat mustard stain, jump wings on. He's like, where'd you get those? He's like, I jumped, 800 foot into combat into Grenada.
You can keep them.
He's like, go ahead and put them gold wings back on.
You can keep them golds that we talked previously about. Yeah. But
so he's this big 6 foot. He's like 6'5" or something.
Why was he a PFC?
Because he left the Army and came in the Marine Corps.
And they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think if you jump through flak into Grenada, maybe you make a waiver or something for something like that.
I think he got like PFC or Lance Corporal out of it, but so when he checked in, they're like, "You're going straight to the sniper, the state platoon."
Yeah. No, that's good.
So he's the point man, and then Sarfo's the RTO, and then me. Again, we were given the reconnaissance type missions.
And what were you doing?
I was just the assistant team leader.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? What workup?
No, during these reconnaissance missions, are you taking photos? Are you
sketches or confirming whatever, calling back over the radio? And,
you guys are probably sketching at the time, huh?
Oh yeah.
I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, so sketching or just confirming and passing information over over the radio.
Sure.
We went through another defining point when we got to Okinawa. We went through an in-house sniper school.
Okay.
And so back then, you were in S2, you were in H&S, and the reason why snipers are in H&S, your platoon commander was the S2.
That's right.
So you had the platoon sergeant, 03, whatever, and then the platoon commander was the S2 officer. So in that, he was giving us classes, really about battalion tactics and how we fall into that, and if we I want to take this one shot, instead of just sitting there and confirming and let them bypass, because me and this team or that team doesn't know is there's a rifle company standing there ready to ambush them or something. But if we shoot, and it could change exactly.
Yeah.
So it was impressed upon me at an early age that a direct fire shot was your last resort in the sniper platoon. You know what I'm saying? Because we were there, we were the eyes and ears of the battalion commander. And you can call for fire, and they don't. Was that just?
It's okay.
That was was that a lucky call for fire? did some kind of plane see us?
Sure.
But if you do shoot a direct fire weapon,
They know
then they
somebody's
know
looking at
somebody's
you.
on the ground.
Absolutely.
And they can kind of like vector in on that and kind of go after you. So at an
Absolutely.
early age,
And
the
I
bigger
think that,
picture was kind of impressed upon me.
I think that's why, and I totally agree with you, because in every experience that I have, the guys from Stay seen a bigger picture. And it's because they were trained a bigger picture. And it's right, because of the job that they have to support us. We don't need to know all that, you know what I mean? And we don't, our big picture is that village, go take it, juggernauts, drag your rifles and crush skulls. Okay, there's the big picture. When we get there, they give us another picture. Right, but I was always impressed by the Stay guys my entire time through. No matter what rank or billet I held, I was always impressed with them, and mainly because they were guys that not only got told the bigger picture but understood the bigger picture, and they could be the same damn rank as me.
Yeah.
And so I always envied that, because and I think a lot of it's they're given more information, which ties in what we're doing with what everybody else is doing. When you get a platoon order built out of a company order from a lieutenant coming from the battalion, you don't always, even as a squad leader, you're not always going to understand that zoom out 2 levels. You're going to understand adjacent units, elements, and resources, but you're not going to understand all of that. And I was way older, and then on my way to being out, like I have 1 deployment left where I started to realize that stuff, which was good. I was a seasoned squad leader at that point. But at the same time, knowing what I know now about that, I think if we inundated the team leader level a bit more, that corporal sergeant level a bit more, to understand that 2 zooms out, I think that it would paint that picture a bit better for them on that what's in it for me, that why. Why am I doing this blocking position? Because if I know that because one of my best friends is in Kilo Company and he's going to be rolling through there, and this is when and why we're doing what we're doing, then I have more buy-in to the game.
Exactly.
Which you should already have enough buy-in to the game, but I'm just saying, I liked understanding the why, and it helped me rationalize my job understanding that. So, and the snipers always had that. So if I knew where I wanted to go to get the Y or to get a 2 zoom out, I would go to snipers and Stay or EOD. Because EOD is another one of those assets that has to understand the battle space bigger. So, very sick. So, you're a sniper.
Not a sniper yet.
You're a pig.
You're
in Stay. You're running this team for reconnaissance, mostly missions, because your team doesn't have a hog. Okay.
So, and again, none of us have a rifle, so it's 3 203s and a saw.
Which is still some ass. I mean, you're not hitting them at 1,000. But...
Well, I mean, so especially compared to the other teams that have like 1 or 2 bolt guns out of the 4, and the rest have like a 203 as their big weapon of to defend themselves. So that compared to a saw with 3
even
203s.
knowing that your biggest weapon could be an on-call target from an aircraft. I mean, that ultimately, you guys are the weapon, right?
So they sent me the basic forward observer course.
Okay.
At Camp Hansen, I think it was. We went through the division schools. I went through a handful of different ones. So we did
JTO or JTAC at all?
No, but we didn't have any of that stuff back then.
Okay,
we
so
just
you're
learned how to
pumped
do
up.
it. So back then, part of the basic forward observer course was learning what we called CAS back then and SIF. SIF was close in fire support, which was rotary wing.
Okay.
So now it's all under the same umbrella.
Okay.
But back then they differentiated it slightly with how you called it in. If it was
Fixed wing was CAS and rotor was SIF.
Was SIF, yeah.
Okay.
But so we learned all that stuff.
Was it about the same as what we have now as far as formatting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't remember off the top of my head of what the different, but it was slightly different, and how they were in holding positions versus like IPs and different stuff. Again, it's been so long.
I think things have changed.
Because it integrated, further
I just
down.
imagine that it's probably real close to what we use now, because not much has changed heading wise and exfil wise, and
So I think we just labeled it different, like, hey, this, north south easting, or the north south and the east west grid, grid mark is like this holding area. These 4 grids is for a holding area for helicopters. And fixed wings was further back as a contact point. It's just little things like that. But so I went to that school. I went to a couple others.
You good with comms? I imagine that most of you guys were probably all good with comms.
Yeah, so we did that. We had we practiced with antennas. We did we got good with the digital communications terminal, which would send you type a message in, and then it could do burst transmission over the radio to get a longer message out.
Okay.
So we would type some of our stuff out. We practiced with that. We also every Wednesday. God bless. I used to hate this. Well, partly because I didn't understand the urinal scope and how it worked. So we would go in every Wednesday afternoon if we weren't out in the field. We'd go into a classroom and Jeff Eby be like, "All right, your BZO temperature is this. Your BZO elevation is this. The BZO humidity is this. Now you're at this temperature, this humidity, and this is this is the height of your target. Figure out what you're going to change to hit point of impact." Point of aim, point of impact on the first round. So I was good at the math, but I didn't know how to put that onto the scope because it never really worked. And none of our guys on our team had that. So I was like, here's the answer to this. I know we need to adjust it by this, but I don't know how to put that on the scope. But I mean, it got to the point when we first started, it'd take 5 or 10 minutes to do the problem. And by the end of the 6 months, we could you could hit that. And it got to the, complicated, they changed the elevation, the temperature, the humidity, and he'd throw in an angle at us.
From where you're shooting from.
So you're at 3,000 feet, and they're at he'd give us the angle. You're at a 27 degree angle or something, down angle at the target. What do you need to do to your scope to hit that target? And we got to
pretty quick.
In 30 seconds, we could figure all that stuff out because we just been doing it every.
Now, did you guys come up with a formula? I know there's some formulas out there, and we don't need to talk about them as far as right now goes. There's some really, really good tricks and formulas. Did you guys start developing some of that stuff?
There was stuff that was there that was taught. It just we got good, good at the basic. Hey, here's the formula to figure this and this and this. Yeah. And just the more you did it, I remember this one I had something, and you could flow through it faster.
Yep, absolutely.
So that was part of our thing. And then the last school that I ended up going through was Combat Squad Leader School.
Okay. What's that entail?
That's just like Squad Leader School, except that it's just over in Okinawa. They call it Combat Squad Leader School.
Okay.
Did you ever read that book, The Last 100 Yards by Gunny Poole?
No.
So he was
Should I?
I mean, it was written by him, who was a lieutenant in Vietnam.
Yeah, I'll read it.
And so it's more of a manual than a history book kind of deal. So he wrote that. And he was the chief instructor. So we got to do some unusual things compared to just the thought process he had, ambush wise, as an example. Mm-hmm. He would go there and he's like, you're setting up the ambush, hoping that they're going to come down this way or this, animal trail or something. But what happens if they don't? What happens if they're behind you? What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Just stay quiet and hope that they, don't see you? So then we would go and he taught us to do an automatic weapon on either end facing outboard, and then you'd face every other way, and then everybody put claymores out, so you have claymores in the front and back.
Get them both ways,
because you don't know which way they're coming. And then if they're coming we'll say to the north, we'll tap a signal or something, and then everybody knew who was going to turn around and also who was going to stay facing the backside just to cover our back. Mm-hmm. And then
so there's little internal SOPs for react to this, react to that.
And it was all learned from what he learned in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So we did that. We practiced with the practice grenades, thumb clip, pull pin, take the spoon off and throw the grenade.
Yep.
Because he's it was all, for him, it was all about deception. If we're sitting in there, we're calling for fire. We, call for fire on this position. So it would. Let me back up. If we're out on patrol, we're like, hey, we think we want to set up an ambush site there. A couple of days before, we might patrol through, stop, call for fire on that position, get it registered, get that registration number, come back the next, a couple of days later, and then set in. So now it's definite that you're going to hit that spot instead of having to try to adjust it on the run.
Absolutely.
It's setting, so little things like that. So you might call for fire, hit them, or, and so it's, supporting arms.
And if not, now you have that reference point that you're on.
Right. So you're going to hit, you could either hit them, on the way out after you're done, or, hey, they're coming in, we can adjust off that You know,
Yep.
that known point. But I guess the point I'm getting at is the last resort is always to fire a direct fire weapon. So if you can, blow claymores next, you know, and then you throw,
Because they're not IDing you as
because
the direct fire.
now it's like, oh, was that, you know, or you could even offset that one. Hey, I'm hitting them here with artillery or 81s or something, so you can get them in a little closer. I'm hitting that, and then I'm blowing the claymores. Now, like, oh, maybe my ears are ringing, and it's just more artillery coming in.
Disoriented, yep.
And then you thumb clip, pull pin, take the spoon off, and throw the grenade. Because if you hear it shing, you know that's a grenade. That's somebody that's actually throwing it. You know, and then the last resort is potentially to shoot if you have to with your direct fire weapons.
Sure.
So it was things like that. That was his way of trying to impart his combat learning that he did in Vietnam on all of us in the infantry.
Sure, and that's stuff that I had J.C. Knight on recently, and William Baudet, First Sergeant Baudet, and that was one of the things he brought up about your guys' generation is that it sounds like you did, but a lot of that generation didn't maybe take full advantage of the Vietnam veterans that they did have at their disposal to learn from.
Yeah.
Now, was it a different war? Yes, but there's some aspects of war where war is just war.
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot regardless of what theater you may find yourself in. There's a lot of aspects of war in Vietnam that are very, very close to the aspects of war that we did in GWAT.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Now, people like him and people like John Stryker Meyer that are dropping and blowing concussion, explosives to knock out guys so they can capture them, that shit's fucking insane. And I absolutely believe they did it. There's no doubt about it, right? But and I don't know what threw me that way, but there was a lot of unorthodox training and real world tactics that they used in Vietnam. Maybe that wouldn't help us, but it's good to think outside the box, you know, just in case you find yourself in that, you know, a precarious situation where maybe you need to use something unorthodox. But that's awesome to be able to have a mentor, though, that's from a completely different era than you to swath in those different, you know, idiosyncrasies almost. So
What we hit supporting arms really hard there, live fire supporting arms. And then the other thing that we did that was unique was we did land nav day and night with just a map, no compass. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, it was all terrain association. And, you know, passed. So, you know,
it's not something that's easy for everybody.
Yeah.
It's
So
really not.
I was blessed to, you know, have always done well in you know, navigation and land nav. When we were in Iraq in 91, I got pulled to go with another squad because my platoon commander was like, I'm going out, and Corporal Carr's never gotten me lost. So he's the navigator.
Yes.
You know.
Good and bad sometimes to be reliable.
Well, but at the time I was only doing 4, and I was going to get out. So like every chance I can get outside the wire, I'm going to go outside the wire and, you know, and do whatever. Just the widest experiences I can get.
Let me experience everything that I can.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that was cool. And I got back just before we came back flew back to the States from that school.
Okay. So that's what, 1 deployment, 2 deployments?
3 deployments.
3 deployments
so 2
down.
MUs and an Okinawa.
Where you guys were there for about, what, 7 months?
6 months. So
we
we got there in June. We left. It was like June 6th, and we left December 6th.
Oh, so
yeah. So exactly.
Regimented.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And then of course we were so nice to the West Coast guys coming in. We left them all Christmas cards in our wall lockers. It said USMC on the outside. Flip over the inside. You suckers miss Christmas.
Yes. Nice. Well, how do you live over there? Like in a barracks?
In a barracks.
Okay. Yeah.
So after doing the Muse, when I got to the sniper line, we're going to Okinawa. I was like, what's that like? It's like being at Lejeune, but you're in Okinawa. And I was like, that's gay. You know what I'm saying? But I was
not
like,
what I wanted to do.
You know, I mean, it was still cool because I was doing something different, but I was thinking I was going to be flying off the ship and doing stuff, but it was still good experience and good learning. And
absolutely. Yeah. And it's going to set you up better for future things, for sure.
I just did at that point, I didn't realize that the rest of the Marine Corps doesn't do what we just got done doing on the ship, you know, like all the Muse stuff.
Right.
And that was my introduction to the rest of the Marine Corps.
Right.
You know, or at least the rest of the infantry and what they do.
Check. Now, from Oki, give me the best experience or best thing that you learned from that deployment.
Well, Do you want me to hit that, or do you want me to remember? Something popped in my mind as you're getting ready to say that.
Oh, hey, let's go.
Was so while we were over there, one of the other guys who ended up being in the sniper platoon that I went to in 3-6 was a team leader over in 2-8, and he was a McWist. So
Okay, a swimmer.
He's a swimmer, and he would do the swim calls for the battalion. And on occasion, our doc would be doing something else. So he would like, "Hey, Corporal Carr, put your blue silkies on, and you're my corpsman," because my hair was so long.
You're filling in.
I was filling in, because people come out to the pool deck like, "Where's your corpsman?" They point to me, see the blue shorts and the long hair, like, "All right, cool." And then they wouldn't even question. I have a little med bag. Plus,
Here
I
we
was
go.
a combat lifesaver from the previous deployment, so they're like, "All right, it's close enough, man."
Yeah. That only goes bad if somebody drowns.
Yeah, and nobody did, so we're good.
Yeah, so you're good. Hell yeah. So dude, just in that 3 deployments, and the in between, you've already had like a litany of different experiences,
Yeah.
which is good for well-roundedness and setting you up.
Yeah.
So once you come back from Okie,
Yeah.
you've had these, different schools and different things you've done. Are you about to re-enlist, or you still got time left before that happens?
Well, so I re-enlisted once, so now I'm halfway through my second contract. And I was like, "Oh, do I get to go to school now?" And they're like, "Oh, no, you're too senior. You won't probably make the next deployment." So
For sniper school?
yeah, well, so then like, "You're not going to go," and I was like, "Okay, but you can come help, train the guys going." And I was like, "You know what? I think I need a break. I'm going to go on recruiter's assistance." So I went on recruiter's assistance back home.
How do you do that?
Call the recruiter like, "Hey, can I come up and help?" And
They just give you the free leave to go up there?
well, so it's not leave, it's TAD or TAD to
I
our
heard of
recruiting
it.
station.
I
Yeah.
heard of it after boot camp.
So
but I
it's
never heard
the
anybody-
same thing. I was able to do it, coming from the fleet, and
Okay.
doing it. So I was up there doing it, and I got a call one day like, "Hey, Mike." Yeah, I was like, "Do you want to go to sniper school?" Duh. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, 3 of the boots or whatever it was shot marksmen at the rifle range, so they can't go. Do you want to take one of the spots?" I'm already on the way.
Yeah. Say less, fam.
Yep. So
I'm coming.
So I left there early. They understood, like, yeah, sniper school, go.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to sniper school from that. And
Now talk to me about school. It's like, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's the hardest, but it's one of the hardest
It's-
schools as far as attrition rate goes in the Marine Corps, is it not?
it's up there.
Yeah.
And back then, it was like, it was almost like you had to know it before you went. It wasn't like it was a teaching school.
Isn't it still, it was like that all the way through the end, wasn't it, until it went away? I mean, some of my sniper buddies that are even junior to me that
Yeah.
went through school said that when they got there, it was, you were expected to learn how to do that in your pig time.
Yeah.
And this was to validate that you did know what you were doing, is kind of how they told me.
Yes. When I was the AITB gunner, I tried to like get away from that. I'm like, we're here to teach them, but by then it was the basic course, and then there was the team leader course. So the course that I went through was the Scout Sniper School. It wasn't basic or advanced. It was,
This is what you got.
this is when you get done this, you're going to probably in your battalion leading a team, so you need to be able to brief your battalion commander or company commander
Yeah.
on your skin. So it was basically getting you ready to be not only write the order but issue the order, and do
Be
the
responsible for
whole
it.
9 yards. Once you have the title Scout Sniper, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Probably
Good.
Once you get the title Scout Sniper,
That's what you are.
that's what you are. They're not going to like, "Oh, well, did you go to the basic course?" Or like,
Right.
it's here you go. You got to be ready to go. So we went through the.
Do you think that's why there's a big attrition rate? Because guys don't focus enough to get ready for it prior to, or didn't? I know it's not anymore, but
So I think a lot of it was stalking, and that's how do I put it? So you start, and this is something that I tried to change when I was at AITB. For me, we would all pull up and park together at the stalk lane. We would see where the instructor's truck would be, and then somebody would walk us out to the 1,000-yard line. And then they're like, "All right, veggie up." And then you're under observation. The time starts now, and you start working your way back. But on the way out, because you don't, in my opinion and my understanding is like, as I'm walking out, I'm looking back and learning like, oh, this tree can block this much, so I'm kind of learning as I'm walking my way out, or what's the the concealment that I can get behind, or cover that I can get behind that's going to block me, so I don't have to hands and knees, or I can either hands and knees crawl or walk. Vice is low crawl, and you can figure out, because where it's going, because you're still learning, you're a student.
Sure.
Granted, our first practice stalk was like from here to the end of your driving, like, all right, get up for score tomorrow. But again, still we knew where the truck was, and we'd walk out and stalk back. To me, that was harder because you had to get within 200 meters or 200 yards
before taking the shot.
So you got a trained observer looking at you from 200. I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10 he could see you, but the question is does he feel that that's a good enough position that if you're 600 yards away, you wouldn't be seen? You know what I'm saying? So it's but I think some of the guys later on were like, oh no, I can see his eye, I can see his earlobe or something. Fail. And it was almost like they're trying to be the keeper. Vice is understanding like, hey, he probably wasn't going to take a shot at 130 yards or 100 yards, but that's the stipulation, because it's allowing you to get a good look at him and his position that's he's set up in and that he's shooting from.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a better Vice him taking a shot at 800 yards. You're like, damn, I can't see that with my binos. So that was where I think a lot of the attrition was. There were some rocks that couldn't figure out how to do the manipulating of the scope, and just couldn't shoot that rifle. They're the qualified rifle expert to go to the school, but it's a different beast shooting that thing, and then manipulating the scope. So I all that to say, I think more of it was more guys were dropped for stalking than they were from the shooting portion.
I mean. No, but that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't stalk, then you might as well kind of lose 50% of what you're worth to that community, at least 50. And now, with the different tech and the different instruments and the different stuff, we have snipers kind of go. I don't want to say go away. The school went away, so that makes me feel like a lot of the culture will be lost. And then, God forbid, you need snipers again. Let's just have this talk, since you're a sniper. God forbid you need the sniper community, or there's a workaround for the drones or something. I think there will be eventually. Well, now we've lost like the field craft or the trade craft of the school culture, do we not?
So now at least up in Quantico, so I was going to, again, one of my other hats that I have is I'm a service officer, so I help people with VA claims and stuff.
Okay.
So I was up briefing the Marine Gunner Symposium on combat-related special compensation program, and before I was able to go in to see them, because it was like 1,700, I stopped by the old Scout Sniper instructor school at Quantico, and they're teaching like a scout course, so they're still that, and they're also teaching like between that, they're also doing a DM course, so it's sniper-ish, but like 600 yards or something.
But not the same school still.
Yeah.
And don't they have RASP still for the special operators over here?
They do.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so there's still some stuff going on. We're not losing it completely. It just makes me nervous when we do. Obviously, you've been around longer than me and seen more, and the guys making these decisions even more. I just worry about the workaround, and now you don't have the deep penetrating reconnaissance threat that's ready to go right now outside of MARSOC.
Yeah. So I think that I can't remember whichever comment out was going towards we're going towards the Pacific, and we're going to have these small teams, and we don't need snipers. I think there's two things with that. One is they got used to, like Iraq, a guy comes in as a lieutenant and a captain, and how was the snipers used 9 times out of 10?
Probably not the right way.
Hey, go in an Overwatch with a squad and cover us in our movement. So in their mind, it's like a DM. They're not, they might be able to reach out farther, but they're sitting there like, oh, they're not going out on their own. They're not doing reconnaissance. And a lot of the guys like, I'm a shooter. I don't do any reconnaissance. That's a secondary mission. Okay, you're right. By the definition, it's a secondary mission. But again, my generation grew up, you shoot last.
Yeah.
I
still think that should be the way, though, right? It's just not as sexy feeling.
I agree, but I think now that those lieutenants and captains are colonels and generals, oh, we don't need snipers because all they are was a glorified DM,
Yeah.
you know. And then the commandant was like, hey, we're getting rid of them. The COAG, Combined Infantry Operators, what is it? I'm gonna mess it up now. Advisory Group. So that's like all the regimental commanders, active duty and reserve regimental infantry regimental commanders come together and they get tasked to like go over these issues for the Marine Corps, and then they pass that up to like the generals and they look at that. You know, it's a part of the infantry advocacy process.
Okay.
So they noticed like, hey, we're getting rid of snipers. My battalion commanders are screaming, I need to have some kind of eyes and ears. So instead of completely getting rid of snipers, they're like, all right, we're not going to have snipers. We're going to keep that structure and call them scouts now. Mm-hmm. So they recognized that they needed to have the eyes and ears. So at least the structure is still there. And that was part of their, hey, we want to, you know, we want to keep this asset here. We know, as you know, we see the writing on the wall. We're getting rid of snipers now, but at least there's that structure. If we want to bring them back, we can just, you know, hey, now you're not a DM. You're not going through the, you know, like a DM course. You're going to go through.
Now we're MOS creating.
Yeah. And then, so
there'll still be
thought
a
that was
footing for it.
What's that?
There'll still be a footing for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
So there wasn't supposed to be a scout platoon either, and they fought to get that. So we kept that structure, which is actually bigger than a sniper platoon was, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay, that makes me comfortable. To feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, dude, I understand the application of drones, and I've said this to one of my best friends, Alex Tryon's been on the show before. Phenomenal sniper. Mm-hmm. Tease him all the time that he killed his MOS, right? But at the same time, in all seriousness, I say, dude, you are my brother.
Yeah.
If I can send a FPF drone that can tell me where he's at, what he's doing, how far he's moving. Oh, and by the way, I can kamikaze that motherfucker in and make damage, and I never have to risk an ounce of your blood as my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's an easy answer for me. It's an easy answer. But when I weigh it with if there's a workaround, how many people die because this asset doesn't exist for at least 6 months?
You know,
how many's that?
You
can weigh that.
You can get up and do that, but if depending on the vegetation, you can't see down below. You still need to have like, hey, we need to scout this route out. You know, mark this route or guide these guys in. You know, that's where
or jungle terrain in the Pacific. I mean, all of those islands are going to be very thick as they've always been, and so there's that comes into it, which is a great point. I didn't even think about what happens when you're 3 canopied up and you can't get down to you know, the terranean or even subterranean tunnel level. Then what, right? And then you got to have some deep reconnaissance. Okay, well, I just, you know, as far as like snipers go, you know, it's a running joke as far as my circle goes and my friends group, but no, those are real concerns from real people that are like, well, what about this? So, however, you know, in saying this, you know, in the same breath, I'd say the drone technology is coming a long way, and it's almost freaky. Yeah. Especially you start looking at drone, like that swarm technology that they're doing. I know China just did something like 10,600 and some odd drones that were in sync with each other for a light show. Yeah. Well, I guarantee you, if they figured it out for a light show, they figured it out somewhere else too, and that's a lot of firepower. Yeah. You know, and so some things like that, it's not that they bother me. It's just like, hey, let's keep this on the. You know, we need to keep working. We need to definitely learn from Ukraine and Russia right now on what to do and what not to do. Yeah. And then then fund it.
And then, you know, what kind of technology can we have that can potentially jam that as our teams are moving around? Sure. You know, so they're going in and it's coming, and then it just drops because it gets within our bubble and loses the signal or whatever.
Have you seen the little guns, the little direct energy guns they're shooting at it? I don't understand how that technology's working unless they're firing like an overpowered frequency to take its communication apparatus down. Is that how is that?
I think so.
I mean, you've seen it, right? Where
I've seen it, but I don't know the backwards, you know, knowledge of how that technology works.
Nor I, but I can say this, like, that's what I was waiting on. Give me a direct energy weapon that can do something to that, right? Or like they're fielding shotguns now. The Ukrainians have these little courses they're going through where, you know, they have to run from a drone that's chasing them, and then the last, you know, it looks like the last ditch effort is to throw their weapon at it by shoot at it, so that it just, you know, that proximity or that touch contact. But if we're not incorporating that at like the lowest level possible,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a mistake not to. They changed the whole battlefield.
Yeah.
IEDs fly now, and that's not something that we,
Yeah.
unless you did, I never had to deal with that. So,
Yeah.
pretty wild. Okay, let's move. We'll get back on track. I had to hit that.
No, it's
had
all
to hit
good.
that rabbit hole. Good. Okay, so are you a first attempt graduate?
Yep.
First attempt hog. Okay.
Yep.
And you get your hog's tooth.
I do. It's hanging in my.
Still
I don't
got
wear
it.
it, but I hang it in my, around the mirror in my vehicle.
Give me the tradition. Talk about the tradition as far as the hog tooth goes, because I'm not even sure it's happening anymore. Like at RASP or any of these other courses.
There's they say that the enemy has a bullet that has your name on it, but as long as you have that, that's your bullet with your name on it, that they can't kill you. Is the kind of the tradition of it. So if you take that with you and you have it with you, it's kind of somewhat maybe spiritual or whatever, that no enemy's going to get you because you have the bullet that has your name on it.
Check.
Check.
Yeah, and then the fun games start to ensue with where's your hog tooth, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it.
So I get different tattoos and stuff that like, all right, I got this. And,
here's my hog tooth. Back up.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay, so first, and you got to be coming off of that as a high to go there. Boom, first time graduate, you pass everything, and now you're coming back as leadership, or you come back to lead a team or lead a section?
I come back and I'm like the senior sergeant in the platoon. I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh yeah, the senior billet is the radar section leader. And I was like, you're killing me.
What is that?
So state platoon is surveillance and target acquisition.
Yeah.
You had a radar section, and it was ground surveillance radar, and then you had the sniper section.
Are you talking about like putting out rocks with
No, that's too
sensors?
advanced.
Or are you
This
talking
is
about
like a little man-portable radar system that you can set the parameters of. Like, this is the left lateral limit, this is the right lateral limit, and it goes back and forth within that parameter, listening, and you're listening, and you can see it and you can hear it.
Okay.
movement or something. Then it becomes into practice. We did, I think it's F2 on 24. We would sit up on that berm, and then the snipers would stalk, and us guys with the radars would try to listen to see if we could hear their movement. Sometimes we can't hear them, but we could hear a deer in the back, and it sounded like a whoosh. It was like a step forward, is like whoosh, whoosh. You're like hearing the air move as they're going through it, is what it sounded like, to me, as I equated it. So that's what I did when I first graduated, came back from school. And then the other thing,
did you like it?
I'd rather be doing sniper, but because it was man portable, you can carry that, but you're not carrying anything else.
Yeah.
And it just happened. It happened when we came back, whatever battalion we switched with. So back then it was like you go to Okinawa and you get the armory over there, and then when you leave, you come back, and whatever battalion you relieve, you get their armory, and in their armory was these ground surveillance radars. We're like, we didn't have those in Okinawa, so we're like,
yeah.
So we had to learn those, and then. We didn't really employ them there because they're as good as you can see, but if there's vegetation blocking it, that's where it stops.
Check.
They were good for like 2-8, say in like Grenada or Beirut, when it had that open airfield in that open area, so they could sit there and set those things up and know if somebody's walking across the airfield and
what
a click away.
Oh, they got range when it's open. Was it all line of sight? How far could you get?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
But you could reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a click's a fucking piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were good for that, but you get into the woods and it was no good at all.
Check.
So
you come out of school, now you're a hog, and they put you over there without a long gun.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And then they're like, oh, you need to go see Sergeant Holrath. And I was like, I don't want to go see him. I go see him, and he's like, hey, man, here you go. You need to fill this out. And I was like, what's this? It's the recruiter screening, list. And I was like, but I don't want to go do that.
Sergeant Horrath.
Yeah. Not Josh. Yeah, no.
Okay.
But that just happened to be the guy's name that was the career planner.
He was at SOI at the same time you were, too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so career planner wants to hist you.
Well, so no, my name's on the Marine Corps hist list.
Okay.
He's like, where have you been? I was like, at sniper school. Why? I was like, oh, they're going to love you. You need to fill this out.
You're going to bring tons of guys in.
I fill it out, and he's like, oh, man, they're going to love you. You need to figure out before you go in there what school class you want to go to. Here's the 3 choices. And I was like, all right.
It's like the hits keep coming.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do I? In my mind, I'm thinking, how do I get out of this? And again, go back to my recruiter. I still go over there and hang out. And his wife's like, didn't you get bit by a tick at sniper school? And I was like, yeah. He's like, whatever happened with that Lyme disease test? And I was like,
good point.
I'm in there. I'm in my Charlie's. I'm the first one of the day. I go in there and I report in, and he looks at my stuff. I was like, oh man, I think it was like a major or something. He's like, yep, you're great. They're gonna love you. Sniper, gonna have the pictures, and you can have your ghillie suit up and on all that stuff. You're gonna get all kinds
making
of
a mockery of your MOS.
And I was like, he's like, do you know of anything that can keep you or preclude you from going to recruit duty? I was like, I'm waiting for my Lyme disease test results, and he's like, reaches in his briefcase, comes up, and bam,
rejected.
Big med DQ on the top of my package. He's like, here's my card. If you ever want to go,
we got a spot
you
for
get cleared, just call me up, call me direct. I'll remember you. And I was like, yes, sir. As soon as I got cleared, I'm going to call you. Walked out the door, and I was going out. I was like, what class you going? I was like, I'm not. And he's like, how? And I was like, I ain't gonna say shit in here.
Little secret.
I was like, let me get out of here. And so that helped me. And then later on, well,
let me ask you this first. Did you end up having Lyme disease?
No.
No, but
so
I've never even heard that Lyme precluded you from stuff.
Well, I think he just heard disease and was like, what?
Not gonna mess with that.
Yeah, that
Look,
just doesn't
man,
sound.
When I was with you at the same time over at SOI, I was finishing a PEX for Alpha Company.
Mm-hmm.
Came home, I had a house in Richlands, and had 3 ticks on my arm. You always get ticks out there. They're thick in Verona.
Yeah.
Pulled them off. Well, my wife's grandfather was dying. And so there was a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
It was like hospice, and we're just kind of like watching him die, which is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I started getting these headaches. I'm like, oh my God, like these are, and I chalked it up to stress. Like somebody I love is dying. I have a lot of stress. My wife has a lot of stress, and then they kept getting worse, and then my body was aching, and I'm sitting at the house degraded, and I'm talking about over hours, not days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? Well, then the headaches got so bad that I couldn't see. It like tunneled all the way down, couldn't see anymore. And I'm like, oh my God. So my mother-in-law had been in a car accident, and she had some oxycodone. She's like, you probably shouldn't have these for the Marine Corps. I said, it don't matter, the Marine Corps. I'm not like, I can't see.
Yeah.
You need to give me everything you've got. And ate that stuff. It kind of dulled it, and my vision came back. But then I had like these weird things. Got this full body rash. I ended up being the first diagnosed case in eastern North Carolina of Rocky Mountain spotted fever.
Oh, wow.
Which once you get the rash is 80% fatal. And so like not good business.
Yeah.
And BAS couldn't figure it out. It was Dr. King, the civilian provider over there at the time. And he was just like baffled by it. Oh, I just can't. I'm like, well, you better fucking start being serious because like my bones are curling in.
Yeah.
Ended up being that Rocky Mountain spotted fever. My wife figured it out. And it was a simple regimen of doxycycline or cycline, however you say it, doxy. And boom, shit went away, whatever. But I had to send like my pictures and all kinds of stuff to the infectious diseases of North Carolina. And yeah, I'm like, since then, ticks like are a problem for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just went turkey hunting for, since turkey season opened up, I've been out several times. And the one trip that I went, before I got my bird, I pulled 14 ticks off of me. And I debated on whether I was going to go again over there, over on base, because like that's
not the
that's 14 more bites that may give me the same stuff, right? Or a autoimmune deficiency such as Lyme disease, and that's lifelong. And so I started doing some research after this, and it turns out 500,000 Americans a year contract Lyme.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Did you know it was that big?
I did not.
I didn't either. It's crazy.
It is.
From that little bastard bug, tiny little thing can hurt you like that.
Because I get bit like right like in my belt line on the back, and I had a dot with a circle, so that's why it was like,
that's different too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so that was
bullseye
it was similar, but obviously it wasn't Lyme disease, but it looked like that, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Well,
like,
you don't want to mess with it.
Well,
and that's the other
exactly,
thing.
yeah.
Like at first I was gonna be like, well, that's a silly reason not to get histed, but at the same time, it's like they put all that money into you and fill a spot, and then you go down with some weirdness that comes from it, because it's got all kinds of different weirdness that can get you. But Yeah, wow. Okay, so you definitely dodge a bullet there because
Yeah.
you don't want that bullet. I'm taking
Yep.
it out
No,
of
no,
school,
no, no.
and
Yeah.
Trey, you're trying to do your job
I'm trying
for a
I
minute.
was like, so how different people have their vision of what a Marine is. Mine was always like the dude coming out of the surf zone with his rifle, ready to assault the beach. That was always my
Didn't know
mindset.
Marines did other stuff.
Well, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, but it was just, where some guys like, oh, I was want to slay the dragon or whatever. Mine was always like the dude coming out of the water with his rifle, wet, camied up,
Yeah.
and scouting the beach. That was
Well, that was your recruiting poster. That was your generation. It was mine doing the
yeah,
dragon.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. But in my mind, that was always what I wanted to do as a Marine.
That's where you seen yourself. It's where you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also don't, and we have a lot of guys from GWAT in this what I'm about to say, in this very position. You don't want to train your entire life to do one thing, be it sniping or kicking doors in or direct action or whatever. Name your MOS or specialty, and then not be able to do it.
Yep.
What I got this good and put this much effort into doing this one thing, and I can't do it.
Yep.
And guys suffer from that. I mean, you know them.
Yeah.
I guarantee you know them.
Well, I mean, so some of that, I get that because all the stuff I'm doing is pre 9/11, post 9/11. I was at SOTG on 9/11 teaching a scout swimmer school.
Okay.
And then from there I was a company gunny.
You missed that whole time.
Well, so I like missed Iraq, if you will, the invasion. Like, I guess the point I'm getting at is the next time I deployed, I was a company gunny. So I'm not the shooter. I'm doing the logistics and that. And then I became battalion gunner.
Your shooter time was
What
just before the war.
Was all that stuff,
Yeah.
So I mean, I got to do a huge amount of stuff. As you know, there's still other stuff I haven't hit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did all that pre 9/11, and then, which helped me like teach at like SOTG.
Yeah, I'm sure it made you
and
really
all
good
that.
for those guys that were now going to be the
Yeah,
shooters
yep.
for sure. Now, before we get into GWAT, you have some other things that go
Yeah.
down. Let's talk about that a bit.
So I mean, even before I left 2-8, it was a Sunday night at like 1900. We were watching a movie in the barracks. Come out, go to the Gedunk machine. Come out and like, what is Fox Company doing? There's dudes running to their armory and coming back with the rifles and civvies. We're like, what is going on? Whatever. Their platoon sergeant's probably playing games. Close the door. Start getting ready to start watching the movie. Someone bangs on our door. Hey, if you have a rifle that can mount a bayonet, go to the armory. And we're counting. So we were on air alert. We got tasked, and at like 1900 we got tasked, and by 2300 we're wheels up flying to Cuba to quell riots. We were flying out on C-130s going down there, which was kind of cool. We were down there for, I don't know, it was like a week or so, or 10 days.
Right there on Gitmo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had the migrants in there, and they were rioting. They were taking their tent posts and using those as weapons. So like, okay, roger that. Our company came in and we did like the locks, stomping your feet, the riot control, down, and we surrounded the whole camp, and then Fox Company went in and was like one or two guys, and then they did a step forward and to the side, and another one, and they pushed everybody to the back of that camp, and anything that could be thought or used as a weapon, they took that stuff out, and they let them just bake in the sun. Like, all right, you want to be animals? Here you go. You're inside this wire, concertina wire, surrounded by us, now, and you have nothing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, well, we're done playing.
Now, who was it?
They were like Haitian migrants that were
like asylum seekers or people coming there from Haiti,
or other places.
Okay.
And,
okay.
And so, like I said, again, fire team leader. Not at that higher level.
Yeah,
I don't remember all that. I just remember like just going out and like, oh, here we go. Flying away to do something, some real world, stuff like because we were on air alert. You always do those drills like, oh, you're flying out, and then so one of my buddies was in the snipers already, and they got the word like, hey, come in, and he drove in with his wife, and he's like, yeah, babe, this will be a little. Hey, I love you, because there was like buses like
gone,
those charter buses that were there, and like, oh, they're not playing around. They're not going to charter stuff for a drill.
Yeah.
We're going somewhere. I love you, babes.
Yeah.
And it was, we literally loaded up and we're out.
Yeah.
And of course there was guys that weren't there because their platoon wasn't, on alert or whatever, but they're like, hey, you're going. So we're like, oh, your shit's not packed? Cool. We got you. Wooly Poly, all this other stuff. They get down there to Cuba and they're like, "What? Oh my God, I got."
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have necessarily the right gear because they didn't pack and they didn't have their stuff and they were pulling from their pack or whatever. We're like, we got you, brother. We got you, mother.
Well, that's a cool thing, though. That's another odd experience. Not odd, let's say, but
Unusual.
Yeah, unconventional experience. I did a little experience in Cuba myself when I was in the Fast Company, and I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
Like, it was a cool place. Boring duty, for sure.
Yeah.
But another experience that not everybody gets to have. So Cuba was cool.
So when we're getting ready to leave, it was like the 23rd of December. We're getting ready to fly out.
And when did you leave? Like, how long was this quelling that you had to do?
It was like 10 days.
Oh, it was quick.
Yeah, so I mean, it was we went in, cleared that out, and then because it was the security force guys didn't have enough bodies to do that, so we flew in there to help them with that. And then once they're like, "Oh, we're good. We want our shelter, we want our food, and we want our water," then they kind of calmed down. Then it was the security force guys that were there, were able to continue back with what they were doing before.
Check.
So we're getting ready to fly out. It's like December 23rd. And the commandant was planning to come in to talk to those guys. Talks to us first, like, "Hey man, this is cool. We haven't really done an air alert flyaway for some real world thing, and forever. So like, it was a good job to you guys. Merry Christmas." So they get in their bird and they fly across from like the windward to the leeward or whatever. And then the C-130 comes in and they didn't have enough for everybody to fly back. So they're like,
seats?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we only had 90 seats and there was like 180 or 200 people or something. So it's like, all right, where's all the married people? They're going to go first. And I was like, I was okay with that because I was the East Coast guy. I was able to go home on 96. So I was like, all I say is this one guy, Rascon, he's from the West Coast. He never gets to go home. Can he be one of the guys that goes? No, he's single. He's staying. Roger that. So they get on the bird and they fly out. A little while later, the commandant flies in. He's walking across the tarmac to go to his bird, and we all pile out of the hangar, and he sees us. He's like,
"They're not supposed to be."
Yeah, and he comes over and says, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, sir, the other bird didn't have enough seats, so we're on standby for the next bird that's coming." He's like, "Oh, when's that coming?" The 27th, sir." He's like, "Oh, okay."
You say the 27th?
He's like, "You're gonna miss Christmas." We're like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Hold on, Sergeant Major, talk to him." Sergeant Major Marine Corps talking. He went beeline across the runway to the tower. 10 minutes later, comes back like, "Hey, there's a bird inbound for you." He got on whatever, and he made a C-130 come from wherever and come and get us.
Hell yeah.
Picked us up, and we flew to Cherry Point.
Okay.
The other bird flew to Norfolk.
Yes.
So they left ahead of us, but they had to wait for buses to get from Norfolk up there to get them and come back. So we were back, gear turned in, leave papers back then in hand, on leave as those guys are pulling in. So we're giving them the two-finger salute.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, how did you?" "Yep, we're out. Suck it."
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. We got hooked up by the commandant.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, that's sweet. And what year are we in now when you do this?
So that was 91. That was before I left the sniper platoon, or before I left to go to the sniper platoon.
Okay. So we already went forward to that, and now we came back to Cuba. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then
And then the last...
Stop me if I go too far. So is Somalia next before we go to any of the GWAT?
Yes.
Okay,
so,
let's talk about that.
Okay. The only other thing that happens like in 2-8 is we get alerted and we go down with our company, or one company, and all the snipers go down and sit off the coast of Haiti to invade Haiti. And then that happened to be October of 1993. Remember what else happened in October of 1993? Black Hawk Down.
Yeah. Okay, so you go down to Haiti as almost a react or an invading
we're
force.
gonna invade in, and then we ended up doing a show of force. And at that point, I had orders to fast, and I kind of like, "Hey, career planner, can you hide those?" Because I was gonna go in as, in and operate as a sniper team leader. I was like, this is what I want to do. Then I'll go up to fast.
Yeah.
And that was a whole rigmarole getting up to fast. But I ended up.
Oh, so he pushed him. He put him in a pile somewhere for you for a bit. Nice.
So I ended up, and I was like, "Hey," and who was the platoon sergeant for the fast platoon in Haiti? Staff Sergeant Eby.
No
who was my platoon sergeant on the previous deployment, and so we find out that we're not going in, and I was like, we're just sitting off the coast now, and I was like,
getting bored.
"Hey, I heard through the grapevine that I have orders to fast company, and they're in. And they're like, oh, let's check. Oh yeah, they are. We need to send you back. So they stayed on ship, and I flew my way back to, Camp Lejeune, checked out in like a few days. I was a single guy, so I had all my gear in the back of my pickup truck, take off, go on leave, and then, check into Fast Company.
Oh, yeah. And how'd you like Fast? Because you did Fast as an NCO, which is a bit different than I did. I did it as a boot, so just following orders and falling in. But as an NCO, it's a bit different. You're kind of mentoring a whole group of new dudes.
So, yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. I was supposed to go up there under the premise of being in their training section to help train their DMs and their snipers. So I get up there, and the company command, I check in, and I'm in my alphas. And everybody's like, hey, Sergeant Carr, how you doing? And I'm like, how does everybody know my name? And I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
So then they're like, oh, the company commander wants it was a major. He's like, hey, you need to check into the company commander. So I check into him. And as I'm sitting there, behind him is a picture of me on his wall from the Globe. 2-8 was the first battalion to get Sassers. And they did an article on the Sassers. There's a picture of me behind a Sasser. In the Globe, he had that up on his thing. He's like, this is going to be my new lead sniper for the company and all that.
Ripping you.
So I was like, oh, this is cool. And then he's like, well, I know I told you you're going to go to the training section, but I really want you to understand what you're supporting. So I'm sending you in the next platoon going to Somalia. I was like, break my heart. Okay. So
bang.
Yep.
And then you go?
I get assigned to second platoon. And back then I had to read like a binder of stuff because they were as part of it, like a standing JTF. So I had to like get read into the program. And then really what it was, you'd think of the MSPF.
Okay.
And we were the covering force.
Okay.
That kind of deal, but we were higher level, not just, we were like on standby. If one force couldn't do it, then we might be the alternate force going in. That kind of thing. Yeah. And then, so we did that for a little bit, and then we started our workup to go to Mogadishu, and then.
What's your workup look like for that? Was it like a regular workup, or?
So it was. So we had a training section, and some squared away dudes. Staff Sergeant Cooper, Staff Sergeant Clark. I don't know if you Master Guns Clark that had a big scar. He was one of the ones up there. He went through Army Safar Tech. Cooper was a recon guy. So I mean, there were like some really squared away dudes, and they held the standard. So like now somebody we need Smith, but Smith can't shoot. We'll just fudge his numbers so he can qualify to get on. So they held the standard, and we would either shoot in the morning or shoot in the afternoon, and then go to, imagine that, the asbestos house, what it was called, to do our tactics. And we did live fire. I don't know. We had to have shot, upwards of 1 million rounds of 9mm over our 6 or 8 week workup thing. So again, we're 50-man platoon. You're going through, and everybody's shooting all the drills, and then we start out going into the room. It was 2-man online. 4-man online, 4-man long wall, and then 2-man long wall. And then from then on, it was just that. And we would all right, go through until the whole squad can go through, hit their sectors, and not mess something up. And then we're going to back off. We're going to put a piece of furniture in there, and then progressed. We progressed all the way through a full room of furniture and like 2 or 3 occupants.
Shoots and no shoots? Or all shoots?
No shoots and no shoots. And then some of them were compliant. When it was like the 3, it was like 2 compliant and 1 non-compliant. So you had to work through all of that and calling in support and all that to do that.
That's good training.
But that's what we progressed to. And then again, while we're doing day and night shoots, and then we also went to like AP Hill and did 50 cal, all the machine guns. We asked to take mortars. Our platoon asked to take mortars. We're told no.
You mean to Somalia?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay.
And because the ambassador said that's, in his mind, that was an offensive weapon, and we're there just to be defense. So we ended up taking all the mortarmen and cross-training them to be machine gunners. So then it was like, all right, the machine gunners and the 41s, you're operating. Everybody could shoot it if something happened, but you're the main ones manning those guns when we're like out on our convoys and everywhere else. And we do practice convoy stuff. Captain Berthoff was in 2nd Recon during the Gulf War. They lost a guy to taping the stuff on, and the grenade came off, and the pin stayed on the thing, and so he really reluctant around grenades. I guess the point I would get at with this is he's like, I don't need to have Sergeant Carr who can work on cars in his off time working on the vehicles. I'm going to bring a motor T mechanic. I'm going to bring a comm guy to work on this. So that was every other platoon just deployed as the platoon. We deployed with our platoon. We brought an intel guy, Mike Tabica. We brought him. Sergeant Johnson was the comm guy. I think Donaldson was the motor T mechanic. So like that's your job, you know.
Yeah.
And so we wouldn't be taking guys off of, hey, you're getting off post. Now you're going to go work on something and get back on post without having
fatigued as hell. Yeah.
So that fast forwards to MARSOC, and he became the G4 at MARSOC, Colonel Berthoff, and he brought that model to the, not, I wouldn't say just him, but I mean, he was
sure.
It was reinforced with us in Somalia that like, this works. Why do I need to have a shooter do that? Let's bring a guy that does that as his job, an enabler. So we all came together. We did some stuff in the shooting house, some scary stuff.
Some live fire shoot house.
Well, yeah,
that can get real quick.
Yeah.
Did they blue barrel anybody for safety? Was that even a thing then?
We didn't, but we made sure Sergeant J didn't ever go into the house again or leave the compound.
Oh, did he fuck up bad?
So our doc had been in Somalia with 5th Platoon, and that's when Black Hawk Down went down. So he was experienced, and it was over there when that happened. He came to our platoon, so he was going to do a room clearing. The tire house, the far end of the Chesapeake,
where the walls move.
No. So it was
the actual shoot house,
the actual tire house.
Okay.
Yeah. If you had like all the square bays, and all the way to the left of the square bays was like a tire house, and then they built the ship house place on the other side of the road.
Maybe it wasn't like that when I went there, or maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah.
At any case.
Well, so we were going in there. We had one squad on the one side, mine was on the back side, and Doc Jolly loaded rifle, loaded his pistol. I'm ready. Sergeant J, rifle or his pistol, ready to go with my rifle. Makes entry. Doc Jolly hits his targets. I'm down, I'm going to my 9. Because he goes to his 9, starts throwing rounds. We're like, whoa. I mean, literally not just like side hand and throwing rounds. We're like, what in the, nope.
You're not doing this anymore.
I was on top of I thought the CQB instructors were going to shoot him because, I'm saying because
he was on the catwalks watching.
Well, no. So it was, they were behind him because there was no catwalks.
Yeah,
I was just sitting up on the top of the tires because it was my squad going through, and I wanted to see my guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
We're going to have to work on that form a bit.
So he never
Did he hit his targets?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's funny. We had a sergeant, Maxie. He was like the guide, which the guide in 05 was like the worst NCO, I guess is what it seemed like.
Yeah.
At least at fast.
Well, when I was like, when we went to Iraq, back then the guide was like, you're almost like ready to pick up platoon sergeant, or you're that senior, you're going to go and you're going to do this.
Yep. It wasn't the case in my fast platoon. It was like, we're going to watch him close and he's not in charge of anybody kind of guy. But they blue barreled him because we were in a shoot house and he come across a live barrel and shot right beside somebody.
Yeah.
And I mean like right here beside somebody. And like you said, those instructors fucking lost their minds.
Yeah. So, and I look back and I was talking to, I think he's retired sergeant major, but we were going, talking about just training and all that. And I was like, think about the first time you were in the house and how you were like this, like, oh my gosh. And then, because I don't know how it was when you were there. For us, my sector stopped at your barrel.
Yeah.
And then if you're coming back, I come to you and then I start coming back, And as I was going, as you're going through, you're like a soda straw, like, oh my gosh,
Tunneled down, yeah.
And you're tunneled down. Then as you get, each time you go through, it gets wider and wider and wider and wider and wider. So then if you go in a house for real, you're not worried about like, oh, is he going to shoot me or am I going to shoot him? Now I'm worried about the dude shooting back at me.
Yep, that's right.
You know, but it just takes reps to get to that
Reps
point.
and sets.
Yep.
That's 100%. I think that's a lot of your newer guys, whether they're an NCO or not, or a new guy, when you deploy, it's those two things. It's understanding how to control yourself when you're there and understanding what to control yourself to do.
Yeah.
Because if you know how to control yourself, the next step is, what do I need to do, right? And a lot of guys just get caught up in that, not zooming out to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
I was guilty of it several times. Of just getting too sucked into right here and not seeing that right there, right?
Yeah.
And that's easy to do, but you rep something out and set it out to the point where it's just absolutely second nature.
Yeah.
That's where we need to be. Absolutely. Okay, so let's move forward.
So we get me, the other sergeant, our platoon commander. So they learned from Black Hawk Down, and we got pseudo certified to control AC-130s in case we needed to.
Badass.
And then the three of us flew over on Advon. We flew commercial to Nairobi, Kenya. We get there and like, all right, the CIA bird is flying in 3 days, you know, and we got some stuff set up for you. So we went on a half-day safari in the Nairobi National Forest, and you know, got to see some other stuff. I got up, I think it was the day before or the day we flew into Mogadishu, and I turned the TV on in the hotel, and all the stations were on this news thing from a helicopter watching this white Bronco driving down a highway. I'm like, I don't know what the heck this is. You know, we're like, whatever. Turn it off. We fly into Mogadishu. Come to find out it's O.J. Simpson and his chase. And it was all over the news, all over the world. And so we fly in. We get there.
Now, what's the mission set, though? So you're going to fly in, and what's the mission set you guys are going to take on, or what you're being told at the time?
We're there to guard the embassy and the ambassador if he goes out in town.
Check.
Is the down and dirty of what it is.
Check.
So we get there and we fly in, you know, civvies. We get there at the airport. They give us some body armor, some weapons. Like obviously we didn't fly commercial with our weapons, and get in a convoy. We head back to the compound. We get settled in, and
that's kind of a cool mission.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, it was.
You're basically a Praetorian Guard for this guy, is what it sounds like.
Well, I mean, we're guarding the embassy, and I think each platoon took that portion of it a little different.
Okay.
You know, there were some platoons that were more minimalist, and then there were some, like our platoon, were like, yep, no. When the platoon that was there left, we like totally revamped the roof of the White House, is what it was called. It was the old ambassador's residence, but that's where Fast Company, we're living in there. Our COC was in there. The ambassador and everybody else, they had built revetments, and they were living in trailers in the same compound, but further away from the wall. So we were all consolidated in there. And then there was a small, like 1 sandbag thick, bunker, if you will. Not even a bunker, but just like a little wall. And that's what they were kind of hiding behind. They're like, oh, we'll just make it so it's not so visible, and not this big gargantuan thing that people are looking at. We're like, but again, that was their mentality. Our mentality was like, we're making this sucker big. It was like 5 sandbag thick wall around, and and it was
probably what it should have been.
It was elevated with the base of the thing this high, off the ground, with 5 sandbags thick up to like your chest that high. And then we had bunkers that were there that held machine guns. And then we did 2 sandbag thick walls from the steps coming up to each of the bunkers. Because when we first started doing it, if there was like a firefight outside the compound, all the looky-loos, if you will, like all the embassy people, like, I want to see the gunfight outside. They would come up and get in the way of the snipers or the DMs on the roof, or wherever the post stander was. Yeah. So we're like, all right, cool. You want to come up? You're going to be down there behind the 2 sandbag thick wall. Don't bother our guys up here, or guys in the bunkers, manning machine guns. So that's
looky-loos, you say?
Yeah.
No, I never heard that.
Well, I mean, that was just, I'm going to come up and see what's going on outside the thing. And
makes sense.
And then go back down to their trailer. And there was one of the guys, his call sign was Brewmeister. And guess what he did? He brewed beers over there. So I mean, they were drinking and whatever else, but we were like, no, we were rotating on 4-month cycles. So we're like, our platoon commander was like, hey, if we're there and they need us there, we're ready to fight at any time. We're not going to, allow you to go over and drink or do whatever else. And,
Sure.
So that was our mindset. I don't know about some of the other platoons. I've heard differently that other platoons were different, but.
Now, did you guys take contact, like at the embassy?
Not at the embassy.
No. Going out with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So later on, when I was at SOTG, I used this. During the changeover, I'm up on the roof with their snipers, with their head sniper, Sergeant McFarland. And then we're going through his like range card, and we're going, I was like, hey, this is that, this is the range that we have, and da-da-da. And then there was 2 clans fighting outside the compound. And then you hear like the snap. Like, I looked at him, he looked at me. I was like, are they shooting at us? He's like, oh, because it was just the random snap over our head. Yeah. And then we started talking a minute about it, and then we hear like, it was like a little closer. We're like, oh, all right, that's a little closer. And then there was like another time, a crack. It was like, oh shit, that's getting close. So we put that down. I put binos out of helmet binos like on top of the sandbag, and he was behind his 40. We're trying to figure out who's shooting at us, and a round passed between us. I dove right and he dove left. My ears was ringing the rest of the day, and his right ear was ringing the rest of the day. The 312, and I was like, hey, they're shooting at us. Like, oh no, they're not. It's just spillover fire. Okay. Yeah. And he's like, what did they say? I was like, they said that was just spillover fire. And he's like, hell no, it wasn't. And then, so I used that years later at SOTG to train the guys doing the raid courses, about the sound of the crack, and then how we, as the Marines, use the rifle range. You're at the rifle range and you're sitting here, you're eating a sandwich and you're crack. Hey man, that was yours.
Yeah, I know that hit.
Crack.
Paper.
Hey man, that was yours. And that sound isn't the round of the round going through the paper. It's going through the sound barrier over your head. The crack. That's what it is.
That's right.
But you can tell by how close that crack is. We learn that, but we don't learn that.
Right.
Right. So I use that. Years later, I can either tell that now or I can tell that later. But I mean, I use that example of like crack. Oh, it's getting closer, and how close that is to you, to what you can do. Like, oh, if I'm pinned down, that's like all around you. If it's like crack, I can get up and go to your motorcycle and get down, or I can go further. But that was a key to me.
100%. Yeah. I've seen many times
in like real world. Like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen many times Marines, staff NCOs at a rifle range pulling pits that tell me that, no, I heard it hit the paper. And it's like, no, you've never been to combat, have you? Because that's what you would say. And I'm not even throwing shade or making fun. If you're not a combat dude that's done that, I could very well see how you would think that that's the paper hitting, hitting the round or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you do know, and then somebody says that, and you're a young sergeant or corporal,
staff sergeant must know, or
you're gonna. Well, if you know and he doesn't, you're gonna clown him for not
definitely.
knowing, and that's the young part of you. Instead of being like, hey, actually, so you don't say that in front of people junior to you anymore. Let me explain this to you, because that's probably what I should have done, right? Instead, but no, you're right. And then the longer you're in, sustained combat. I could start to tell, like what you're saying, I could start to tell what snaps to worry about and what to not. The ricochet sounds and the the little, there's all kinds of little noises. And you know what it reminds me of? And now we're talking about Mogadishu, but I'm in Black Hawk Down, where that one kid's like, the snap means it's close. The hiss means it's, and it's like, I don't know if he got them all right in the movie because I can't recall, but different tones mean different things for sure. Yeah. And, sometimes, I know I write in my book, sometimes it was like that one snap that lets you know you're alive because you knew that son of a bitch was close. Yeah. But when you hear the snap instead of an impact thud, you knew you were okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? You knew that you got past that one. So that's pretty wild. Yeah. Now, so Black Hawk Down had already happened. Yep. Now you were there, you're protecting embassy and taking trips out with the ambassador to ensure that his protection. And you say you do this for 4 months.
No, so we're scheduled to do 4 months, and then early September, They decided that it's, the situation's untenable and we're pulling the embassy out.
Okay, and that's how many months in?
I got there in like early to mid June, and this was early September.
Okay,
and
so
then we
a
ended up
little shorter than normal.
Yeah, and then so we ended up pulling the embassy out on September 15th, and going from there. So
now, did you guys come home? You go back to?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So at that point, FAST was only in the U.S. and we had 2 alert platoons, and that didn't include at that point guys going to Somalia. So that was a separate thing. We weren't like on alert to get to fly out. The initial guys were when they flew out, they were on alert, but at that point it was a scheduled, like UDP, if you will, and they were just rotating platoons through. Like, all right, it's still going 4 months. You're the next one in line. We're gonna get you ready for it. And
if you last the third one, it'll just keep rotating in. Okay, I got you.
And then it was a matter of managing that and the refuel, defuel missions and all that other stuff.
Command. Now, was there PRP command?
No, that was so some PRPs might have done that.
You're talking about RFDF on the security. Yes.
Yep.
And they still do that, I think. Yeah. I missed that experience because when I graduated basic security guard, I'm going to go to FAST.
Yeah.
There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 platoons and first platoon. So I should have fell into 5th platoon with all of my peers, and I fell into 1st platoon because there were 2 drug pops in 1st platoon whilst on the PRP mission. It's like, well, that's like the way wrong time to do that if you were going to do it at all. And so me and my roommate Eric Chavez got shuffled into that senior platoon. So we only did like a year and some change in FAST. We did Cuba, Bahrain. And then we had our FAST term cut short by like 6 months or more. And what I missed was the RFDF.
Yeah.
Or by and large missed most of all of that. So, wild. So this is your only mission thus far in FAST?
Yeah.
Okay, check.
So we were there, and it was 2 days on guard and then 2 days on react / So if you were on the react portion, if on those 2 days the ambassador wanted to go out of town, then you were doing the armed convoy escorts and all that. If not, then you were,
Was that often that he went out?
Not as often as others were, no. And then sometimes we would go to do like supply convoys to the airport and other stuff, those kinds of things. There was on the bypass road, we would do a range. We'd go out shooting to keep proficient with our rifles and pistols, and I zero the 40s and the DM rifles and all that stuff. So we'd go out to do that. And other times it was just like a recon, like, hey, he's talking about going here next week. Let's go do a route recon of that area. And a lot of times we're like, what's the least amount of exposure to the city? Again, this is our mindset. Instead of like, oh, let's do a route recon through the Hornet's Nest and try to stir something up. We're like, let's just, because at that point there was no other forces in country. It was us.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like a different mindset then. Like, oh, if we get hit, we can call the 10th Mountain Division come help us out. Or
not time to be
else.
cock strong on your routes for sure. Check.
And even sometimes we would drive 3/4 of the way there, get to either the airport or the one side of the port closer to where the ambassador, but still secure. He'd fly in there, and the bird that we had assigned to us, and he would just get in the vehicle. We'd go outside the wire there, go a mile or 2 into the city, or less, and for him to do his thing and then get back, and then the helo would fly him back, and we'd fly back or drive back ourselves without him. Yeah. Just the least amount of exposure for him, least amount of time for him. Because you got other
the
things
mission
going
is
on.
him. Yeah. Good call.
Anything
sketchy ever happened there?
One of the trips, one of my drivers wasn't really paying attention. He was talking, and we came to a stop, and he didn't. Smashed one of the limos into the Humvee in front of us in the north side of the city. So we had to leave that at a friendly compound, but we had to
get him out of there.
Well, no. So we had to get all the gear and all the sensitive stuff out of there. So we had like React cans in the back. We had it all. We had like an SOP. I still have it. It was like React can, ammo can, this, that, and the other, AT4, all the stuff in the back.
Everybody knows right where everything's at.
Yep, and it was labeled out, so I can go and do an inspection. Like, here we go. We have everything. So we had to get all that stuff out of it at that compound, secure it, and then they were all doing that. So we used to go out with a lead, a tail, maybe follow one, and a limo. So it was usually a 4-vehicle convoy. The platoon commander, platoon sergeant would be in the lead one. The sergeant would be in the rear, and I grease penciled all the checkpoints for me to call over the radio back to the COC,
Sure.
so they could track us through the city. So they went into the compound, and my vehicle stayed at the top of this like intersection, if you will. We got out and pushed our guys. Got out and pushed our guys out. Left the turret gunner, the driver in the vehicle. Something that we did. Excuse me. Our drivers all went to BSR, which is the anti-terrorist evasive driving course. The we had them carry MP5s instead of the M4s that we had, so they could have it on their body and it's collapsed as they're driving and not in the way of their driving. So if they have to bail, they don't have to go look for their rifle. It's their long gun, if you will, is with them. So those two, the turret gunner and the driver stayed in the vehicle, and me and the two back, left and right, got out and were holding security. And at one point, saw a technical drive-by. I was like, all right, note to self.
Yeah.
Saw that one go by. And now there was a Somalia with his kids playing out. And the technical drove by again. And the old man saw that and was like, and I saw him. I noticed the technical, and I saw his reaction to that. And I was like, he's like, all right, he got the kids in closer, and then he shooed them, put them inside the house, and he was stuck at the door. You saw it go by slowly a third time. They're like scanning, like, oh, there's this one vehicle and
It's
like
about to go
and
down.
3 dudes, and I was like, uh-oh. Hair in the back of my neck standing up. I was like, it's getting ready to go down. Got on the radio, and I was like, hey, lead, this is tail. You need to speed it up because this technical was driven by 3 times, and there's a dude shooing kids into the house. And he was like, yeah, we're like 5 minutes out. I was like, it's probably going to be over in 3 minutes, but you need to hurry up, And then the technical's coming up and see the old guy like looking out, and he's like, soldiers from the sea, I want no death here, and slams the shutters, and you hear him pushing the kids to the back. It's like, oh, get ready. I pushed my guys, adjusted them from the last time they got seen. And then as they're coming up, slowing, the tech looks like he's spinning his rifle or his machine gun our way, and then they see the other Humvees coming up, and he's like, oh, spins it and takes off. It was,
he didn't
it
want
was getting ready to go down right then.
Yeah.
And then
That's a feeling, isn't it?
it is. He's like, oh, how you hear about it, and then it's like all that stuff they're saying. I was like, yep, I see it.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah. Yeah, man. When your baseline starts to shift on a dime like that, it's on the way. If it ain't there yet, that's a fact.
Later on, we had.
What do you have? A Dishka on the tech?
I think so. Yeah, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
We had.
That's a motherfucker.
So when I first got there, we were it was me and the other sergeant were the section leader. So it was like a rifle squad, and then half of the weapons guys in mine. He had the other squad, and half of the weapons guys, the other half of the weapons guys in his squad. So it was the platoon was broken up into 2. And then at one point they kept on missing. When I say they, the regular Marines on the roof of the embassy were missing stuff. So I went up to do sketches. I still got them at the house. We did field sketches of outside the wall. And as I was doing it, I'm sitting there sketching, and I see a bunch of dudes get out on Afgoy Road. They get out and get online, and then start bounding.
Toward you?
No, in front of me, from my left to my right. There's like piles of rocks and rubble and stuff, and they're bounding piles to piles to piles, all the way up into Market Street, Dead Cow, and then there was Market. And there's a wall there. So they got there, and then he went up and tapped people and was like assigning sectors of fire. And I was like, I'm like noting it and still doing my sketch. And I go through, and then I look, and they pull everybody back. They talk, and then they get in the vehicles and they drive off. I was like, you gonna call that in? He's like, they're gone now. I was like, they just did a rehearsal.
Yeah.
They bounded down. The dude assigned sectors of fire. And then they did a debrief. You don't think that everybody else needs to know that? And like, oh, yeah, yes, sir. And I wasn't necessarily mad at them, but I was just like, but it was like things like that the dudes in the roof that weren't trained observers were seeing, but they didn't think it was important enough to call that in.
Yeah.
So
or they just didn't know.
Well, yeah. And then the other section was on, and one of the corporals of the guard was driving from our compound to the embassy compound within the larger UN compound. And on the way, either on the way there or on the way back, he saw a dump truck drive by that had ZSU 23-4 guns mounted on the back. And nobody believed him until we got my buddy, Sergeant Tabaka. He went and got that film flown to Kenya, developed and sent back. And like, yep, no kidding. There it was on there. And that was when I went to my platoon commander. I was like, hey, sir, we need to put trained observers on the roof.
Yeah, they're not seeing this
shit. This is the stuff that they're missing. We wouldn't have seen this. We wouldn't have known this thing's in the city if it wasn't for, I can't remember what the corporal's name was, from the other section.
Sure.
And he's like, yeah. So we ended up I gave up, I relinquished being the section leader, and I took me and the 5 other DM ARS sniper guys, and we ended up doing
an observation team or whatever.
Well, so we did, I broke us up. It was me and Middleton. He was a DM and ARS graduate. I did the other scout sniper and the other ARS graduate together in a team. Then I put the 2 DMs together in a team. They went through DM school together as a team.
Oh, nice.
You know what I'm saying? So it worked out well. So we did 6 on, 12 off for like 3 weeks. And that's when I was getting ready to try to like, hey, can I stay on with the next platoon and like run their DMs and whatever.
Cross deck, yeah.
And that's when we found out that we're pulling the embassy out.
That's when it got untenable.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it was about to be, if you didn't pull out soon, it was about to be a big thing. Check. Now, do you guys come home from that?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was
3 months and some change.
It was a whole rigmarole for us. So we had to convoy everything out of the embassy to the airport. So we ended up got a big meeting. We're like, all right, we're going to go and break into 3 sections. One's going to guard everything that we take to the airport, and they're going to stay down at the airport after the first convoy and guard everything down there. There's going to be a section back at the compound that's going to guard the compound. Then everybody else is going to be in the convoy section. And they're like, Sergeant T, you're going to be in the convoy. Corporal Lanyo, you're going to be over and do the airport security, and Sergeant Carr, you're going to guard the compound. And I was like, I was like, Roger. You know what I'm saying? You always want to get out and, where you think you're getting the action. And afterwards, my platoon commander pulled me aside, like, what's going on? I was like, sir, I thought I was doing good. I thought I would, you would want me out in the fight, if there's any kind of fight, because at that point it was like a 40 vehicle convoy. We're used to doing 3 vehicles guarding the ambassador and 1. Yeah. Now we're spread over, 40 vehicles getting out and about. And he's like, I want to have a compound to come back to. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a compound. If without you, well, if he put somebody else in charge there as the senior guy, like, oh, this guy looks funny, so I'm gonna start shooting. And I'm gonna get in a firefight with 8 dudes on our compound and everybody else gone. Yeah. So I was like, when you put it that way, I understand. I was like, okay, I guess that's cool.
Reliability.
He trusts me to make the adult decisions and do that, and so.
Yeah, that's a big boost of morale, big boost of reassurance as a young leader.
That I was like, I'm doing it right. And
and is that how that closes out in Somalia?
Yeah, so we end up having a MU comes over. They're sitting off the coast. We were assigned 2 AC-130s to help support that in case we got into anything. And then we just, like I said, little by little loaded all our stuff out. And September 15th, we pulled the flag down the last time. Did our convoy out, got to the embassy or the airport, flew out on a Russian bird, got to Mumbai, Kenya, or no. I think it was Kenya. And there we got on C-130s or whatever it was, and we flew back. But that was a couple of days later.
Check. Okay, so, and you close that out with going back into what we think Kenya and then coming back and closing that out, and that's going to close out your fast tour. That's not going to close out your fast tour.
Because then I do 2 RFDFs, and then we also do some other stuff with
training stuff or
we got real world. I got orders that says you're going to go deploy to USS XXXXX for a period of XXXX because it was classified at the time, so orders couldn't have any of that stuff on there. But it was just a trip down to Cuba to move migrants from Panama to Cuba.
Well, that's still pretty good. You got to do some really unorthodox, let's say, for infantry, straight legs. You got to do some unorthodox missions.
Yeah. I got to go to jump school when I was at FAST. And
fuck yeah. Yeah, man, you got a storied career here. All right. Hey, guys, in the interest of time, we're going to split this into 2 episodes. So that's episode 1 with Mike Carr talking about coming in the 80s and then ending up right there in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, ending up right there in Somalia. For part 2, we're going to cover the GWAT campaigns and his follow-on deployments, at that gunny level, that company gunny level and on, and some of his staff sergeant time there. So make sure you come back for part 2 coming up in about a week, and you'll get that last closeout from Mike Carr. And we're also going to cover that hyperbaric chamber therapy, oxygen therapy for all you guys that have had head injuries or body injuries. It's not just for brain injuries. It does help the body in multiple different ways, which we'll talk about and close out with the next episode. So for now, thanks for coming in, tuning in another Choices Not Chances episode. And Mike, like I said, thank you for coming out. Thank you for being transparent, sharing your career, and sharing things for these young hitters that come up that haven't done combat, that haven't had these courses, this training, and these different schools that you've been to. So I know that they can take a lot from this and then apply it in the real world to themselves, which is going to be nothing but a force multiplier to their career. So guys, if you like what you've seen, leave a review, leave a comment, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. And that second time around, I can throw some of your questions and comments out at Mike for next week. So appreciate you coming back on, and we'll see you next time. Choices, not chances.